Zai Qin reminded everyone while he himself had already escaped to the western wall of the village first. Of course, it was impossible to leave directly, as many cold resistance-level guards from King Village had already stationed there ahead of time. Breakthrough. Zai Qin's weapon was a silver-made 9-hole saber. He raised his saber and charged into the cold resistance levels of King Village, like a place without people. The chill from the saber instantly killed 2 and repelled over 10 people, forcefully opening a breach, showing some signs of a successful breakout. But the people from King Village were fiercely persistent. Despite knowing the significant difference in power, they continued to rush forward in waves, quickly filling the gap. Joining forces in the attack, they even managed to injure him. "Brother Zaihu, I'll help you." Just as a cold resistance level from King Village was about to pierce the left chest of Zai Qin, a deep voice suddenly exploded by his ear. Clang! A silver 8-sided hammer with a head diameter of half a meter abruptly swung in from the side, not only breaking the sword but also turning the upper half of the sword wielder's body into a mist of blood. "Thanks, Brother Cow." Zai Qin clearly recognized the newcomer and expressed gratitude. Seeing more people arriving, his face showed no joy, instead growing heavier. Figures covered in dust and appearing somewhat embarrassed were converging here from various parts of the village. It was clear they were the arsonists from the city, totaling at least more than 150 people. More than 20 minutes had passed. Surely many of the arsonists had been killed, and the remaining 150 people indicated that the number of participants tonight far exceeded expectations. These people were all injured, with some even pierced by several white bone arrows, left unpulled out, clearly chased here by those 5,000 gray-clothed bhikkhus. Zai Qin's face was heavy, because the top of the western earth wall had been occupied by gray-clothed bhikkhus. Thus, these 100-plus people now had no way to escape. "Zai Qin, tonight's arson was Jiangxia Town's plan. You wouldn't leave us without a backup plan, right? I don't want to die here with you. Careful planning for over half a year just to assist you tonight. Whatever reserves you have, use them quickly, don't waste time. I'm tired of staying here, hurry up, I want to return to Jin Mountain." The group who actively participated in tonight's arson plan showed little anxiety on their faces. Several unmistakably leaders from various towns urged Zai Qin to think of a solution quickly. Hearing their words, Zai Qin's face slightly darkened. He didn't respond. He was just following orders, having no backup plan unless... Boom! With a slight thought movement inside Zai Qin's head, just as he turned, a thunderous explosion suddenly rang from the top of the western earth wall. A nearly tangible silver saber blade, tens of meters long, suddenly slashed down from midair, striking the top of the earth wall directly. Thud! To know at the top of the earth wall, many gray-clothed bhikkhus were standing. The silver blade slashed down, and at least a dozen gray-clothed bhikkhus, unable to dodge in time, were sliced into minced meat directly, while those who escaped were either unconscious after landing or coughing blood continuously, losing the ability to fight. Boom! The saber blade hit the ground with a thunderous noise, turning the western wall directly into powder, carving out a saber-shaped gorge over 10 meters deep in the ground. Violent shockwaves spread outwards, causing the gray-clothed bhikkhus nearby and over 100 others, including Zai Qin, to retreat at least tens of meters. With one chop, the black smoke over the western wall was scattered by the shock, dust and stone scattered. Snow mist flew, creating a scene that was incredibly terrifying. Such a powerful saber. The temperature is rising around. Is a Xianyang level expert making a move? Definitely Xianyang level, a big saber from which Jiangxia master. It's Zai Zhang, army chief of Jiangxia town. The snow mist dispersed, and only then did the crowd see the figure hovering high above them. The person appeared to be middle-aged, with a slender and slightly tall build, dressed in a golden silk robe, holding a pitch-black 12-hole silver ring saber in his left hand, standing in midair, lofty like the sun, intimidating to gaze upon. Greetings to the army chief. Greetings to Zaihu army chief. The people below who reacted first were Zaihu Qin and those from Jiangxia town. Then even the people from the other 7 towns followed suit, paying respects to the figure in the sky. Seeing the people from the other 7 towns saluting, Zaihu Qin showed no surprise on his face. The 9 towns have deeply integrated over the years, adopting camp systems, including official titles that are actually similar. Army chief refers to the person wielding military power in each town, and there's only one in the 9 towns, of course. It can only be held by a Xianyang-level expert. Beyond mentioning Zaihu Zhang's position as army chief, it is natural for the cold resistance levels from the 7 towns to pay respect to a Xianyang-level expert. Zaihu Zhang in midair naturally didn't care about those people saluting him and first gazed at the gray-clothed bhikkhus below for a while. It seemed he didn't notice anything. Then he lifted his head and looked towards the east, the direction of the Daju Temple. With a hint of a smile, he spoke. It's rumored that Daju Temple has 5 great masters. I wonder if Zaihu Zhang has the honor of meeting them today. As Zaihu Zhang's words fell, the gray-clothed bhikkhus below and the cold resistance levels from King Village suddenly became agitated. As if not noticing Zaihu Zhang standing in midair, they began to curse angrily. Chapter 969. Chapter 355. An old acquaintance in Great Xia, chaos in King Village, Vajra Master and Su Ning's surprise. Shut up. Vile creature, you wish to see the master. Do you even deserve it? Just like the 9 town scoundrels, sticking like plaster, catching so many spies, and yet there's still more. Arsonist harm-doer, what right do you have to meet the master? They. Zaihu Zhang heard the clamor from below, slightly lowered his head, and a hint of flame gradually rose in his eyes. Just now, for the first strike, he held back, dealing with merely a group of gray-clothed bhikkhus at the 3 main level. If he went all out, at least several dozen would have died with one cut. It seems those 5 masters haven't taught you to respect the strong. Zaihu Zhang spoke in a low, angry tone, lightly raised his black-silver ring saber with his right hand, and directly slashed at the few who just spoke rudely below. Speak rudely, then die to this sovereign. Ting hu. The silver rings clashed against the blade, producing a crisp jingling sound. Zaihu Zhang's action seemed gentle, yet the slash was as fierce as a storm, draining the surrounding air, creating a silver blade aura twice as long as the previous strike. However, the people below, seeing the silver blade aura coming at them, did not show a trace of fear on their faces. Most didn't even stop reviling Zaihu Zhang. Keng. The blade aura did not cut down those who yelled as expected, nor did it successfully land. Because a bald old monk in a yellow robe with white brows suddenly stood above those people, effortlessly catching the blade aura with his hand. The old monk's physique was extraordinarily robust, standing over 2 meters tall, with bulging muscles. Even his neck was thicker than that of an ordinary person. The reason he seemed old was due to 2 white eyebrows above his eyes. His skin was as tender and smooth as that of a newborn, pink tinged with redness, not old at all. Salutations to the Great Awakening Vajra Master. Salutations to the Great Awakening Vajra Master. The moment the elder appeared, 5,000 gray-clothed bhikkhus with hair and more than 200 cold resistance-level individuals from King Village immediately knelt down in reverence. Not just these people. Salutations to the Great Awakening Vajra Master. Throughout King's Village, sounds of salutation echoed one after another, clearly from villagers who were earlier in panic due to the fire. The moment this yellow-robed old monk appeared, their hearts seemed to settle. Even the fire was suddenly put out of their minds. Mr. Zaihu, my Daju Temple and your Jiangxia town are neighbors. We should live harmoniously, yet you bring people to King Village to commit arson and harm, creating such heavy murderous karma. No matter what, this master must seek justice on behalf of those who tragically died today. The Vajra Master spoke with a heavy nasal tone, and as soon as the words fell, without waiting for Zaihu Zhang's response, his body suddenly disappeared from the original spot. The next second, he appeared directly above Zaihu Zhang. His face showed traces of anger. Lifting his left hand, the sleeve suddenly swelled, obviously pushed by the muscles inside, then slammed down fiercely towards the top of Zaihu Zhang's head. Keng. Not using weapons, directly using the body to deal with him. Anger appeared on Zaihu Zhang's face, obviously feeling underestimated by this Vajra Master. He fiercely raised his saber, performing an upward slash towards the Vajra Master's left forearm. Both being at the Xianyang level, their physical bodies were similar, taking a palm and taking a blade. Who benefits and who loses? The answer is clear. A hint of fierceness flashed in Zaihu Zhang's eyes. He did not believe this Vajra Master actually dared to clash hard against him. Keng. The more you disbelieve something, the more likely it is to happen. This old adage at this moment with Xia Hong was proven true. His saber indeed struck the Vajra master's arm first. However, the imagined scene of slicing off the arm did not occur, but instead, a harsh sound of metal clashing rang out. His ink-silver blade was made of 10,000 forging-level silver, coated with a layer of ink pig oil to increase toughness. When it comes to hardness, it is definitely among the top 5 in the 9 towns. The Vajra master's left forearm was actually harder than his ink-silver blade. Xia Hong suddenly realized something. The corner of his right eye twitched sharply, and a hint of horror flashed through his pupils, quickly dodging to the side. The Vajra master's palm was descending towards his head. If the palm, harder than his ink-silver blade, hit his head, the consequence. Boom! Ultimately, Xia Hong managed to turn his head aside, but his shoulder was still struck by the Vajra master's palm. His whole body, like a cannonball, crashed into the ground, blasting a giant crater with a 10-meter diameter. This power, the Vajra master's power, stronger than Army Chief Xia Hong, directly slammed to the ground, seems like not just slightly stronger. This scene left Xia Hong chin, and everyone from 8 towns instantly dumbfounded. Zio. They were momentarily stunned, and Xia Hong, who had been smashed into a giant pit, was the first to rush out, his face stern. He didn't run but held the saber in his left hand, charging once again at the Vajra master. What are you standing there for? Hurry up and run. The 8 towns, cold resistance level individuals immediately reacted, and without a second thought, started fleeing towards the western earthen wall that Xia Hong recently broke through. Don't let them escape, chase them. A group of gray-clothed bhikkhus, along with King Village's cold resistance level individuals, certainly wouldn't just sit by and watch them escape. Under the command of the leading monk, a vast crowd immediately pursued them from behind. Bang! Meanwhile in the sky, the battle between the 2 Xianyang-level warriors was still ongoing. Just as the fierce fight on the village's west side continued. No one noticed, in a humble wooden hut in the East District, Su Ning was peering through the window crack with a single eye, staring fixedly in this direction, his face full of joy and agitation. This was so worth it, lying in wait was so worth it. Didn't expect to stumble upon this after staying in this room for 5 days. Unexpectedly, the 9 towns even sent people to infiltrate King of Village, and they've started taking action. Xianyang level warriors are even here, Army Chief Xia Hong, he's the Xianyang level from Jiangxia town. This Vajra master's physique clearly surpasses that of ordinary Xianyang level, and judging by this, Army Chief Xia Hong is probably not a match. While such masters as these, there are actually still 4 more in Daju Temple. 5,000 bhikkhus with hair, all are cold resistance level at the 3 main strength, and this is only the Zen Temple's strength. Daju Temple inside must be even more formidable. Su Ning's face was full of joy. Who could have thought he accidentally encountered the 8 towns taking action, resulting in intelligence gathering worth more than his previous 6 months in Lower River Village combined. It's about time I should head back, gain so much it's enough. Su Ning made up his mind to leave. He was now close to the Zen Temple, and all 5,000 bhikkhus with hair had left, so leaving King of Village now wouldn't be noticed. However, just as he was about to move and leave, suddenly, from several wooden houses nearby in the East District, several figures swiftly shot out, speeding towards the eastern side of the Zen Temple. Su Ning was momentarily stunned, quickly turned to look towards the eastern side. Upon seeing those people passing over the Zen Temple and heading further east, he furrowed his brows slightly, and after glancing at the ongoing battle between the 2 Xianyang levels to the west, immediately realized something. So that's it. Su Ning watched those dozen people closing in on the eastern Chilong Lake without the slightest hesitation, jumped down from the hut, and headed in that direction. With such a good opportunity, he certainly couldn't miss it. Chapter 970, Chapter 356, 800 Bhikkhus, Narrow Escape from Death, Military Movement, Message Delivered. The name Chilong Lake existed even before Daju Temple arrived. There are roughly 2 versions regarding how it got its name. The first is quite simple, saying that decades ago, someone at Kinghipu reportedly witnessed a red jiao long emerge from the clouds and dive into the lake. The second version suggests that because the lake is meandering and narrow overall, resembling the shape of a dragon, and in February each year, the lake water suddenly becomes red as blood, hence the name Chilong. Su Ning has been staying in Lower River Village for half a year, and he has inquired about many rumors around Kinghapu, and since Daju Temple is right on Chilong Lake, he naturally focuses on this area. This place is kind of eerie. Following a dozen or so men in black through the Zen temple, Su Ning saw Daju Temple built by the lake from a kilometer away, and an unusual feeling instantly surged in his heart. The entire Daju Temple, aside from an outer circle of 5-meter-high yellow walls, has only one 3-story bright white temple building. White buildings are extremely rare, let alone such a bright one, and it's currently daytime with the temple shimmering in the cold light like jade, reflecting intense white light, adding a few sacred aspects, arousing a strong urge to worship. Su Ning looked down at the silver jade pendant in his hand, which showed no reaction, frowned slightly, and continued to follow behind those dozen people towards Daju Temple. Those dozen or so men in black dispersed from different directions, and they moved very quickly, with someone approaching the walls in less than 10 breaths. Su Ning turned his head to look at the great battle on the west side of King Village, understanding that time was of the essence, dared not waste time, avoided those in black, swiftly circled to the south, and then directly rushed towards the walls of Daju Temple. Which family are you from so weak? Still 100 meters away from the walls, Su Ning suddenly heard a puzzled voice coming from beside him. He turned his head to see that tens of meters to the right, there was also a man in black, just like him, rushing straight at the walls. Coincidentally, Su Ning had temporarily infiltrated King Village this time, and was also wearing a set of black clothes, so without careful observation, his attire was almost the same as these men in black. The other person had mistaken him for someone from 9 towns. Realizing this, Su Ning naturally didn't dare to start a conversation, saying anything now could easily give him away. He could only continue running towards the walls. The man in black said he was weak, and Su Ning didn't argue because he had noticed that he couldn't discern the strength of any of the dozen men in black. He was nearing peak of cold resistance, with basic strength reaching as high as 18, and even he couldn't see through them, meaning the strength of these men in black was at least above 20, possibly even higher. Although not strong, I do have some courage. Speed up. The 28th of each month is the day when those official bhikkhus fast and listen to teachings under the guru's seat. This is the only chance. I must seize it. Though the man in black talked a lot, it happened to let Su Ning know why 8 towns chose to strike at this time today. After speaking, the man in black quickly approached the walls, all faster than Su Ning by more than a notch. Fortunately, the distance wasn't too far. So, after all the men in black jumped onto the city wall, Su Ning reached the bottom of the wall in just 4 or 5 breaths. Just as he was about to jump onto the wall, he suddenly saw an eerie scene upon looking up. The man in black who had just jumped onto the wall in front of him suddenly froze, completely motionless. Su Ning was startled, glanced around at other spots, and only then did he notice that not just the man beside him, but all the dozen or so men in black were all facing the direction of the temple, stuck on the wall, unmoving. Have they seen something terrifying? Since these men in black had their backs to him, Su Ning couldn't see their expressions. After mulling over it, he gritted his teeth and decided not to jump onto the wall like them but lightly leapt, clinging to the wall, and then stretched his head towards Daju Temple to look inside. Inside the temple, the view was of a circular plaza, with the ground paved with magnificent green glaze, along with the only crystal white temple building within, and the surrounding yellow walls. The three contrasted each other, the entire temple glowing with brilliance, dignified and splendorous, making one dizzy while uncontrollably filled with a strong yearning. Su Ning shook his head violently. After clearing his mind, he looked towards the front of the plaza, right at the main entrance of the Great Awakening Hall, and his face immediately filled with horror. In front of the main entrance of the Great Awakening Hall, hundreds of bald official bhikkhus dressed in white were gathered. They looked calm, appearing only 15 or 16 years old, facing away from the hall with their eyes closed and lips lightly moving, continuously chanting scriptures. 5, 6, 7, 800, at least 800, so many official bhikkhus this. At this moment, Su Ning's mind was wildly shaken. In the 5 days he squatted in front of King Village, he had not been without any gains. He had accidentally heard others mention the strength of Daju Temple's official bhikkhus. All were above 20. 800 official bhikkhus with strength over 20. What does that mean? Namo Bhavadu, Bhadrapisna, Arhate, Bishaji, Bishaji, Samadi, Svaha. A string of dense Sanskrit suddenly reached his ears, and the huge shock in Su Ning's heart instantly calmed down. He suddenly sensed something, lifted his eyes towards the main entrance of the Great Awakening Hall. Chapter 971, Chapter 356, 800 Bhikkhu Assembly, Narrow Escape, Military Mobilization, Message Delivered /2. At that glance, his whole body froze instantly. They were a pair of eyes. A pair of eyes with glistening green pupils, unlike those of normal humans. Su Ning could clearly sense that the owner of those eyes was watching him at that very moment from inside the Great Awakening Hall. Although the main entrance was wide open, he just couldn't see the person's appearance and could only continue to lock eyes with those strange eyes. Su Ning was incredibly horrified at this moment because he realized that he couldn't shift his gaze, and his body was completely paralyzed. He suddenly realized that those dozen or so people dressed in black were frozen not because of the 800 official bhikkhus below, but because of this pair of glistening green eyes. Buzzing. Su Ning suddenly felt a sharp tug below his chest, and then a wave of intense tearing pain emanated from inside him. He clearly sensed that something was rapidly approaching his head from within his body. His only remaining left eye suddenly felt a sharp pain. Although fresh blood was gushing out from it, his vision wasn't affected at all, and he could still clearly see those glistening green pupils. Desperately struggling, Su Ning tried to move his eyeball, wanting to see what was happening with the other people in black, but he simply couldn't do it. Finally, he thought of something, stepping back and settling for the next best thing, and used his peripheral vision to glance at the nearest person on his right. Indeed, he could see. After seeing the condition of the person dressed in black with his peripheral vision, Su Ning's heart instantly trembled with fear. Inexplicably, spiritual light kept flying out of the black-clad person's eyes, as if something inside them was being extracted, and after the spiritual light flew out, it went straight towards the Great Awakening Hall. No need to think about it. It was the work of those glistening green pupils. In less than 5 breaths, the spiritual light within the black-clad person was exhausted, and as no more spiritual light emerged, the person's body suddenly went limp, collapsing over the wall. Once extracted, you will die. Su Ning realized this at that moment, and a wave of panic surged in his heart. He was certainly afraid of death, but what he feared more was not being able to pass on these crucial pieces of information back to Xia City, to Lord and the Minister. The eerie and powerful Daju Temple, the 5 great masters, the commotion in 9 towns, the 5,000 bhikkhus with hair, the 800 bhikkhus, the army chief Xiahu, and the Vajra master, who had injured Xiahu Zhang upon first appearance. And of course at this moment, these eerie glistening green pupils. He knew very well how important these messages were to Great Xia. In many matters, it's crucial to have an advantage from the start. Whoever holds the initiative gains control. Great Xia was able to smoothly annex Longyu, because it first paved the way through the vital Mirror Valley passage, taking over the beehive while Longyu was unaware. No, I can't die here. If I must die, I must die back there. Su Ning desperately struggled, trying to shift his gaze, but when those stronger people in black couldn't do it, how could he achieve it? In fact, from the outside, Su Ning's body hadn't moved even a bit from start to finish, and could only allow whatever was entering his mind to turn into strands of spiritual light, which flew out of his left eye toward the Great Awakening Hall. At this moment, Su Ning's state was exactly the same as those people in black earlier. The only difference might be that he only had one left eye, so the efficiency of the spiritual light being extracted seemed much slower than those black-clad people. 1 breath, 2 breaths, 3 breaths, 4 breaths. After 4 breaths, Su Ning felt his mind in chaos, nearly at the brink of collapse, yet the obsession in his heart still raged, refusing to give up. Can't die, can't die. Hiss. The silver jade pendant clutched in Su Ning's hand suddenly heated, turning red, emitting a wave of heat that wrapped around his body directly. And at that moment, the spiritual light continuously emanating from Su Ning's left eye was suddenly severed by the heat, and a small portion of the light even drilled back into his eye. At the moment the spiritual light was cut off, Su Ning obviously endured unfathomable, intense pain, letting out a miserable scream, his whole body trembling incessantly. Even those at the cold resistance level with experience in skin remodeling had a far higher tolerance for pain than ordinary people, and for Su Ning to let out such a sorrowful cry, the severity of this pain was truly beyond imagination. Bam! Su Ning, who had been clinging to the wall, at the moment he let out that scream, fell directly from the wall, trembling in place for 2 or 3 breaths. He suddenly realized that he'd regained control of his body, got up with gritted teeth without a thought, and sprinted towards the south to escape. In front of the Great Awakening Hall, a bald, white-clad bhikkhu suddenly opened his eyes, stood up, and turned towards the interior of the main entrance of the hall, respectfully folded his hands and made a devout bow. Master Wusheng, a mischievous beast has escaped, shall I pursue it? Even if it ran, it won't matter. Its soul body is mostly lost, and its consciousness is on the verge of collapse. It can't take any useful information out. No need to worry, continue chanting with me. Understood, Master. Hearing the response from inside the hall, the bald bhikkhu immediately sat back down, turned around facing the hall, and continued chanting. The southwest outside King Village, Su Ning dashed across the snowfield, changing direction and sprinting wildly towards the area where Beiyang was located to the west. Even though he knew he was already 7 or 8 kilometers away from the Daju Temple, he still dared not relax in the slightest. There was only terror in his eyes, but soon, a hint of cloudiness flashed from time to time, and even his steps became somewhat uncoordinated. What exactly was extracted from me just now? Chapter 972, Chapter 356, 800 Bhikkhus, Narrow Escapes, Army Mobilization, Message Delivered 3. My mind is becoming more chaotic. It feels like my consciousness is collapsing. Whatever was extracted just now will affect my mental state. No way, if this continues, going back will be useless. I have to find a solution. His face grew increasingly anxious, and he frantically considered his options, barely noticing that the 3 vertical lines of scarlet holy patterns on his forehead were completely exposed and emitting a faint red glow. As the red glow of the holy patterns fluctuated, Su Ning's gaze continually shifted between clarity and fogginess. It was evident that he was still struggling to maintain a conscious state, all thanks to the holy patterns. Write it down, just write it down. As long as I can return to the Beiyang realm and get discovered by the people of Great Xia, the message will surely reach Xia City. Quickly, Su Ning thought of a plan. Without hesitation, he tore a piece of cloth from his clothing and then used his finger to dab some of the blood from his cheek, quickly writing on the scrap of cloth. To the east of King's Village, there are over 5,000 gray-clothed bhikkhus with hair, all with strength above the 3 main level. Inside Daju Temple, there are 800 white-robed formal bhikkhus, all with strength above the 20 main level. Among the 5 great masters, the Vajra master's physique is astonishing. His strength surpasses that of the Jiangxia army chief Zaihu Zhang. The other 4 masters have not shown themselves, but their strength can be assumed to be at the Xianyang level. The pair of glimmering green eyes just now is highly likely to belong to one of the remaining 4 masters, and if you make eye contact with him, something will be extracted from your body. There are spies from the 9 towns lurking in King's Village, likely to gather information about Daju Temple. The Lord and the Minister need to be warned early. Relying on the last bit of consciousness he preserved through the holy patterns, Su Ning wrote down what he deemed crucial information in a succinct manner on the piece of cloth. Of course, this entire process was completed as he was running at full speed. After all, merely writing it down wasn't enough. Success would be when it was delivered back to Xia City. King Village is north of Lower River Village, and heading west for nearly 30 kilometers would bring him within the Beiyang realm. In the past, Su Ning always felt this distance was too short, fearing the people of Qinghipu might discover the Beiyang station and then become aware of Great Xia. At this moment, he could only feel that these 30 kilometers were the longest journey he had ever traveled. The light of the holy patterns on his forehead grew increasingly faint, his gaze began to blur, his head felt increasingly heavy, his movements became more awkward, and his pace began to slow significantly. Bang! Su Ning didn't know how long he had been walking west. His body, strained beyond endurance, finally collapsed headfirst into the snow, falling into unconsciousness. Before he passed out, he still clung tightly to the scrap of cloth in his hand, not daring to relax for a moment. In the 7th year of Great Xia, September 24, daytime. In Xia City, within the political hall. Zhao Long, Yue Feng, Meng Yi, and Hu Tong stood inside the main hall looking up at Xia Chuan, their expressions unusually excited. Reporting to the minister, my falcon hunting army recruits have been fully assembled. Reporting to the minister, the Mountain River Army's 1,000 men are also fully recruited. Reporting to the minister, the entire Xingwu army is standing by at the East City military camp. Reporting to the minister, the Bijou army of 1,000 men have also been fully recruited. The decision to establish the 4 new armies of falcon hunting, Mountain River, Xingwu, and Bijou was made on September 11, and today, nearly half a month later, the recruitment of soldiers naturally proceeded smoothly. Xia turned his head to look at the excitement on the 4 men's faces, nodding slightly, before recalling something and smiling as he asked, "I've heard that over the past half-month, you 4 have gone to great lengths to recruit soldiers, even blocking doors and gambling amongst each other, causing quite a scandal in Xia City. Is this true?" Upon hearing this, Zhao Long and the others blushed slightly, clearly not expecting that these minor matters would make their way to Xia ears. Seeing the 4 men's reactions, Xia lightly chuckled and shook his head, showing no signs of blame. With the establishment of the 4 new armies and the need to recruit 4,000 soldiers, it's only natural that they would compete to recruit quality soldiers to enhance the army's combat power. If they had chosen soldiers carelessly, that would truly be cause for concern. Since the organizational structure of the 4 armies was now set, the next step was to begin training the troops. Xia looked up at Yue Feng among the 4 and asked, "Yue Feng, you just returned from Long Mountain. How are things with the Lord over there?" Yue Feng was the Longshan guardian and was originally supposed to remain stationed at Long Mountain. However, with the recent establishment of the Mountain River Army, in order to personally select soldiers, he had been shuttling back and forth between Long Mountain and Xia City for the past 10 or so days. Hence he naturally knew about the situation over there. Reporting to the minister, as of the day before yesterday, the Lord and the forces have cleared 2 silver mines. They should currently be working on the 3rd one. When I visited during the clearing of the 2nd mine, given this pace, it's expected that by early October, all 5 silver mines in Long Mountain will be cleared, and the forces can then proceed to Beimeng Mountain to handle the remaining 2. So quickly. Upon hearing that all 5 silver mines could potentially be cleared by early October, it wasn't just Xia, Zhao Long, and the other 3 who were visibly astonished. The Cold Beast clan occupying the silver mines naturally needed to be cleared before the mining process could begin. Xia Hong arrived at Long Mountain on the 14th, and by now, it's been exactly 10 full days. To resolve the problem of the Cold Beast clans in 2 silver mines within 10 days, the efficiency was indeed somewhat astounding. There's no alternative. The Lord's strength is simply too overwhelming. Unlike Xia and the other 3, Yue Feng had personally witnessed Xia Hong lead the forces against the Cold Beast clans. Recalling the scenes of Xia Hong in battle, he sighed slightly and then continued with a bitter smile. The Beast Kings of those 2 silver mines were no match for the Lord. While Director Yuan was leading the forces, yet to breach the Cold Beast clan, the Lord had already slain the Beast King. This happened both times. Chapter 973. Chapter 356. 800 bhikkhus, narrow escape, military redeployment, news delivered /4. Zhao Long, Mengyi, and Hu Tong's faces immediately showed intense fear upon hearing these words, clearly not expecting Xia Hong's strength to be so formidable. In contrast, Xia had little reaction after hearing it. But thinking about it, it's understandable. On the night of the sect festival on September 9th, the same night Xia Hong emerged from seclusion, he already fought 1 against 3 in the Arrow Bamboo Forest, successively slaying 2 Beast Kings. If the Beast King occupying the silver mine had average strength, it naturally couldn't be a match for Xia Hong. Xia witnessed that scene firsthand, so he wasn't surprised. However, Zhao Long and the others, including Yue Feng, weren't present that night, so their reaction at this moment was naturally not surprising. Xia face showed a hint of interest as he continued to ask Yue Feng, "From what you're saying, following the Lord to handle the Silver Mine's Cold Beast clan isn't very dangerous. What about the casualties?" Upon hearing this, Yue Feng immediately nodded and replied, "The 6 armies almost had no combat casualties, just some minor wounds and occasionally a few severe ones, which could be treated with Dan medicine and were of no concern. If that's the case, your 4 armies should prepare now. Set off directly for Long Mountain after nightfall. Replace the Cloud Jiao, Long Wu, Dragon Slayer, and Tiger Leopard armies, and inform Yuan Dao to lead the 4 armies back to Xia City first." Yue Feng was startled upon hearing this but quickly realized that Xia was giving them a chance to train at Long Mountain. He hurriedly clasped his hands in salute. "I obey, sir." Zhao Long and the others also understood and followed in salute. "We obey, sir." On one hand, following the Lord to handle the silver mine cold beasts wasn't very dangerous, reducing troop casualties. On the other hand, the strength of a single cold beast clan was much stronger than that of an ordinary beast tide of the same size. Using them for training, the combat strength of the four new armies would improve very quickly, making it indeed a suitable choice. "All right, now go. Minister, Temple Manager Shi Qing has urgent matters to report." Xia Chuan was just about to let the four leave, but was directly interrupted by the attendant on duty outside the political hall. "Let Shi Qing in." Upon hearing it concerned the sect temple, Xia Chuan's brow furrowed slightly. He immediately gestured for the attendant to let Shi Qing in and then continued to instruct Zhao Long and the others. "Nightfall is in over half an hour. Prepare to depart now." The four bowed and collectively exited the hall, encountering Shi Qing carrying a spiritual tablet as they stepped out of the hall doors. Shi Qing was apparently in a hurry, having no time to greet them and rushed straight inside. A spiritual tablet who encountered trouble. "There's a glow on the tablet, it should be fine. I don't know who it is." In Great Xia, only nobles have the qualification to establish a sect and set up a spirit tablet, which belongs either to the noble themselves or their direct relatives. Shi Qing, carrying the tablet inside with a hurried expression, likely indicates something happened to the tablet's owner. As Shi Qing was carrying a spirit tablet, the four couldn't make out the name written on it, and their discussions yielded no results, so they left with worried expressions. "Temple Manager Shi Qing, at your service, Minister. It's likely that 5 Originals Guardian Su Ning, Lord Su, has encountered trouble." Inside the hall, Shi Qing saw Xia Chuan and immediately bowed in greeting before taking out the spiritual tablet he was holding and handing it to Xia Chuan. Seeing the spiritual tablet, Xia Chuan's expression changed instantly. "Family Head Su Ning." The tablet bore only 4 characters. Though it emitted a faint glow, its brightness was noticeably dimmer than that of a normal spirit tablet. "What happened?" While inspecting the second floor of the sect hall, I found Su Ning's sect spirit tablet flickering inexplicably and the glow gradually thinning. Realizing something was wrong, I came to report it to you immediately. Shi Qing was appointed as temple manager last September. His duty is to keep an eye on the major deity platform on the top floor of the sect temple and all living spirit tablets in the second floor sect hall, ready to report any abnormalities immediately. Su Ning encountered trouble. Hadn't he already been informed to withdraw from Qinghipu? Xia Chuan's expression turned grim as he looked at the faint glow on the spirit tablet. Not daring to delay, he tucked the tablet into his chest and quickly walked out of the hall. "Shi Qing, go back to the sect temple and keep watch, focusing on the people from 5 Originals. If anything else happens, report to Director Q and have him send someone with the tablet to find me at 5 Originals." "As you command, sir." Xia Chuan quickly found Q Peng after leaving the main building, exchanged a few words, then galloped out of Xia City's south gate towards 5 Originals. If Su Ning had listened and returned to 5 Originals as instructed, then this was a significant issue. If he had ignored the instructions and encountered a mishap in Qinghipu, he couldn't just sit idly by. Rescue was imperative. Su Ning had been a loyal follower of Xia Hong since the mud slope days, and Xia Chuan knew his character well. In the first year of Great Xia, facing the 4 northern mountain camps with several times less strength, Su Ning managed to lure them into action out of self-interest, subsequently annexing them effortlessly. The 7 families of Songyang Ridge in the 3rd year of Great Xia also fell to Su Ning without bloodshed. For the subsequent 3 years, Su Ning followed instructions, progressing steadily along the Xing River north bank without incident. From these actions, one could tell Su Ning was not one to act rashly or recklessly ambitious. Chapter 974, Chapter 356, 800 Bhikkhus, Narrow Escape from Death, Troop Movements, Message Delivered /5. No matter the reason for his incident, it proves that something major is happening in Huayuan, which is why Xia Chuan is rushing to Huayuan at this moment. I hope Huayuan isn't in trouble. The worst scenario is that Daju Temple has discovered the Beiyang and Huayuan stations. Xia Chuan's expression was somber as he sped along the path. "They, sister-in-law, don't worry. Don't you know what kind of person Big Brother is? In all these years, has he ever done anything he wasn't sure about?" At the Great Xia Huayuan station, the main hall of the main building, Han Kaior was sitting on the side chair, head bowed, tears falling. Two boys about 4 or 5 years old stand on either side of her legs, continuously wiping her tears. Su-en holds his little niece Su-ying. Although he comforts her verbally, his eyes also show deep worry. Obviously, he is also very concerned about his big brother Su-ning. It's been 8 days and he hasn't returned. Something must have happened. Brother-in-law King Hippu feels so eerie and abnormal, you must take people to rescue your big brother. Hearing his sister-in-law's words, a hint of hesitation immediately appeared on Su-en's face. He too worries about his big brother's safety, but the exploration of King Hippu was arranged single-handedly by Su-ning, and currently there hasn't been any definite news coming back. If he rashly takes people there, it won't help. Instead, it's highly likely to expose Great Xia's situation, which is certainly not viable. Sister-in-law, calm down, you also know. What a courage, daring to intrude into the Yuan government office. Greetings, minister. Just as Su-en was about to speak to persuade his sister-in-law to calm down, suddenly, the voice of the guard outside the hall interrupted him. After hearing the guard's latter sentence, his expression froze, and he hurriedly handed his little niece to his sister-in-law. Just as he was about to turn and walk outside the hall, he saw the frantic minister Xia Chuan come in from outside the hall. The director of the Yuan Civil Affairs Bureau, Su Ning, pays respect to the minister. Madame Hong Kaioru pays respect to the minister. Seeing Xia Chuan arriving personally, even Hong Kaioru on the chair immediately stood up holding her little daughter, bowed with her 2 sons to greet him. No need for formalities. Is Su Ning still in Lower River Village? Xia Chuan was extremely anxious at this moment. Upon entering the Yuan territory and detecting that nothing unexpected had occurred in Yuan, he immediately confirmed that something must have gone wrong with Su Ning, who was lurking over at King Hippu. The plan of Su Ning going to King Hippu to lurk was known to Xia Chuan. Thus, at this moment he directly inquired Su-en whether Su Ning was still in Lower River Village or not. Hong Kaioru had already returned, and Su-en at this moment was naturally fully aware. Seeing Xia Chuan's anxious expression, he too realized that something must have gone wrong with his big brother, and hastily reported all the news Hong Kaioru had brought back. Upon learning that Su Ning ventured alone to explore the situation at King Village's Daju Temple, Xia Chuan's expression instantly became grim. Minister, has my big brother gotten into trouble? Hearing Su-en's question, Hong Kaioru also looked up nervously, including Su Ning's 2 little sons beside her. They also looked up nervously at Xia Chuan. Xia Chuan turned to look at the mother and sons trio. His expression slightly paused, then without saying much, he directly spoke to Su-en. Su-en, run to Beiyang with me, let's set off now, go. Su-en clearly realized something, and without saying much, he picked up his saber and followed behind Xia Chuan, exiting the main hall. Of course, before going out, he didn't forget to remind Hong Kaioru behind him. Sister-in-law, you take Zion and the other 3 to stay here well. I will definitely bring big brother back. Just when Xia Chuan rushed in, Hong Kaioru faintly felt something was amiss. Now hearing her brother-in-law's words, how could she not understand? Immediately, she held her little daughter and cried her heart out. Mom, don't cry. Father is so mighty, he'll definitely be okay, Mom, don't cry. 5-year-old Su Ping, 3-year-old Su-en, seeing their mother crying so sorrowfully, immediately moved forward to softly comfort her. But since they were also quite young, infected by their mother's cries, they soon began crying quietly too. Su Ning has gone into trouble. Here is his ancestral spirit tablet. East of Yuan, Xia Chuan was speeding along. Seeing that Su-en was struggling to keep up, he immediately slowed down. After a moment of silence, he took out the ancestral spirit tablet from his bosom and handed it to Su-en. Although he had a lot of mental preparations before setting out, seeing Su Ning's ancestral spirit tablet with its dim glow in person, realizing his big brother is really in trouble, Su-en's expression still tensed up instantly. The dim glow of the ancestral spirit tablet points to the east. Most likely the incident occurred at King Hippu. Let's first go to Beiyang to find Chen Ying, to understand the specific situation of King Hippu, and then decide how to rescue Su Ning. Beiyang was a newly established small station last year, and it was the most eastern territory of the Great Xia on the north shore of the Xing River, closest to King Hippu. Chen Ying is the current Beiyang garrison commander and knows about King Hippu second only to Su Ning. To set out to rescue someone at King Hippu, naturally one must first find Chen Ying to understand the situation. Su-en nodded solemnly, eyes full of worry, quickening his steps even more. Their speed was very fast, and within a dozen minutes they arrived at the Beiyang station. Beiyang garrison commander pays respect to Minister Lord Su. Seeing Xia Chuan and Suan coming together, Chen Ying was evidently quite surprised. Xia Chuan didn't bother to chatter with him and directly took out Su Ning's ancestral spirit tablet, just about to explain the situation to him. Suddenly, his expression froze. Chapter 975. Chapter 356. 800 bhikkhus, narrow escape from death, troop movements, message delivered /6. Lord Su is in trouble. Chen Ying, who was granted the title of 9th-rank Marquis in the 3rd year of Great Xia, had long established the Chen family's ancestral rights, so he was well aware of the ancestral spirit tablet. Upon seeing Su Ning's tablet glowing so dimly, he immediately realized something was wrong. Wait, I remember that Qinghepu is directly east of Beiyang, right? That's correct, it's due east. Upon hearing Xia Chuan's question, Chen Ying immediately nodded in response. Then, seeing the faint light on the ancestral spirit tablet, he promptly reacted. Is the light on Lord Su's ancestral spirit tablet pointing north? At this point Suan also realized, his expression suddenly brightening. The light emitted by the ancestral spirit tablet is directional, it points to the location of its owner. Since Qinghepu is east of Beiyang and the tablet's light is currently pointing north, it means Big Brother is to the north, not in Qinghepu. You come with me to search. Xia Chuan acted decisively, and after speaking he took Su En and Chen Ying, following the direction indicated by the ancestral spirit tablet, out of Beiyang Station, speeding north. Beiyang Station is located on the eastern side of Songyang Ridge. Going north for another 7 or 8 kilometers, you reach the southern cliffs of Twin Dragon Mountain, so this area is not large. The three raced north through the snow forest, quickly locating a large tree based on the ancestral spirit tablet's direction. At the moment they found the tree, the expressions of Xia Chuan and his companions changed drastically. In the fork at the top of the tree lay an unconscious man in black, with a low-level snow mane, about 3 to 4 meters long, using its blood basin mouth to continuously gnaw at the black-clad man's legs. The man's skin membrane appeared exceptionally hard. The snow mane snorted and gnawed several times but couldn't bite through his legs. Vile creature, stop now. From a distance, Su-an recognized the black-clad man's appearance, confirmed it was his big brother Su Ning, and immediately became furious, pulling out a silver knife from his waist and leaping fiercely towards the tree. Splat! How could a low-level snow mane withstand an enraged Su-an's attack? The snow mane hadn't even finished snarling before its head was severed. Su-an scooped up his unconscious brother and jumped down from the tree. Big brother, how are you? Big brother, wake up. He's unconscious and won't wake up. Let me take a look first. Seeing that Su-an had lost his reason, Xia Chuan immediately called him back to his senses, then squatted in front of Su Ning to examine his injuries. After checking, Xia Chuan's expression tightened, and a look of perplexity appeared in his pupils. There was blood on Su Ning's left cheek, clearly having flowed from his eye. Besides this, the only other marks were tooth prints left by that low-level snow mane on his legs. Su Ning already had late-stage cold resistance cultivation. Even lying still, a low-level snow mane couldn't pierce his skin membrane. Those tooth marks were likely the result of it gnawing for a long time. Other than that, surprisingly, there were no other wounds on his body at all. After contemplating for a moment, Xia Chuan gently used his fingers to pry open Su Ning's left eye. No injury. Seeing that Su Ning's left eye pupil had become incredibly cloudy, but was otherwise intact, Xia Chuan became even more puzzled. Minister, my brother seems to be holding something in his hand. Upon Su-an's reminder, Xia Chuan immediately noticed Su Ning's hand gripping a piece of black cloth, which looked like it had been torn from clothing. As he gently tugged at the fabric scrap, a look of surprise flickered in his eyes. He couldn't pull it free. This proved that before losing consciousness, Su Ning was gripping this piece of black cloth tightly, and even now in his unconscious state, he subconsciously didn't want to let go. What is this black cloth? With a slight effort, Xia Chuan pulled the black cloth from Su Ning's hand and unfolded it. The black cloth was densely covered in 5 lines of red characters, clearly written with a blood-dipped finger. The handwriting was wobbly and sloppy, indicating it was written in great haste and with much urgency. Daju Temple, 5 Great Masters. Zen Temple, more than 5,000 gray-clothed bhikkhus with hair, 3 main strength. 800 white-robed formal bhikkhus, over 20 manes. 9 towns have already acted in King Village. Jiangxia Town's army chief, Xia Hong, was defeated by the Vajra Master. Great Awakening Hall of Chilong Lake, phosphorescent green pupils, meet their gaze and die. Upon reading the content of these 5 lines written in blood, Xia Chuan's expression changed instantly. Take Suning back immediately, quickly. Chapter 976, Chapter 357, Losses of 8 towns, Xia Hong's certainty, 4 armies arrive at Long Mountain. The name Xing River was chosen by Xia Hong. In March of the first year, to gather enough beast blood for a breakthrough to the cold resistance level, he hunted intermediate cold beasts madly, traveling south from Redwood Ridge to the riverbank for the first time. Seeing the lush riverbank and the obviously extraordinary vegetation, Xia Hong named it Xing. As the Lord of Great Xia, Xia Hong's naming naturally carried official significance, so from the first year, everyone in Great Xia referred to the southern river as Xing River. However, unlike the people of Great Xia, the 9 towns referred to Xing River as the Heng River. The name Heng River originally spread from Jiangxia Town. From the map of the 9 towns, it's not very noticeable, but the east entrance on the north bank of Heng River seems sandwiched between 2 towns to the south and north. However, Chui Mountain Town is actually 2 to 3 kilometers away from the entrance, so Jiangxia Town was the one truly controlling the entire entrance. You can tell from the word Heng that Jiangxia Town discovered early on that this river generally flows east-west. This also indirectly proves that Jiangxia had long begun exploring the north bank of Heng River. Year 131 of the Mo calendar, September 28, night. On the north bank of Heng River, in an unnamed camp's main building in the eastern section, Xia Hongqin paced back and forth nervously, occasionally glancing at the window on the west side of the main building, a hint of terror deep in his pupils. It's nearly half an hour since nightfall, and they're not back yet. What to do, what to do? The army chief is so strong, nothing will happen, nothing will happen. How could that Vajra Master be so powerful? If the Vajra Master is that strong, what about the other 4 masters' strength? Half an hour ago, just before nightfall, he managed to escape the entanglement of the bhikkhu with hair from Daju Temple, returning to Jinbai village, already in a state of shock. His mind was racing now, worrying about the safety of Army Chief Xia Hong, while being shocked by the terrifying strength exhibited by Daju Temple this time, visibly flustered. Thump, thump, thump. Suddenly hearing hurried footsteps outside the door, Xia Hongqin abruptly turned his head, seeing a subordinate enter, and his expression visibly darkened. Sir, people from Beishuo Town have returned too, 18 in total, led by 2, Commander Huang Lin and Pei Yang of the Town Defense Army. Upon hearing the report from his subordinate, Xia Hongqin snorted coldly. 18 returned. Beishuo actually sent so many people, HMPH. People from Jin Mountain, Wuchuan, Dragon Valley, Yonk, Chui Mountain, Bashing of the 6 towns had already returned to Jinbai village one after another, but no more than 7 or 8 from each town had returned. Beishuo, however, had as many as 18. The return of 18 doesn't mean Beishuo only sent 18 to King Village. Not counting those killed by Zen Temple bhikkhus during the arson, over 150 people successfully regrouped at the west wall of King Village after the arson ended. Jiangxia led the arson tonight. Xia Hongqin knew they sent just over 60 people, and by the time they regrouped at the west wall, only over 40 remained, meaning that over 110 others from the other 6 families were present, and even more escaped without being surrounded beforehand. As they fled from the west wall, the over 5,000 gray-clothed bhikkhus pursued relentlessly, killing more, leaving even fewer who escaped successfully. During the 8 towns' army chief meeting at the start of the year, it was clearly agreed that, except for Jiangxia, the 7 families would not send more than 10 scouts to King Village, but now it seems none kept their promise. With 18 returning from Beishuo, I estimate they sent at least over 40 scouts to King Village. After Xia Hongqin finished speaking, he laughed coldly. During normal times, he would be angry if the 7 towns didn't keep their promise, but tonight was different. No one expected Daju Temple to be so powerful. If these 7 families had truly followed the original agreement, sending only a few scouts, Jiangxia alone would have suffered tonight. Subordinate obviously understood Xia Hongqin's words, nodding. As of now, 23 of our people have returned. while the other 6 towns each returned 7 to 8 people. Beishuo returned the most with 18, totaling up to less than 90 people, but judging by the fire scale at the start of the operation at dawn, there were over 200 involved in the sabotage, meaning the 8 towns lost over 100 cold resistance level fighters this time. Not only that, Xia Huqin's expression became solemn, his tone heavy. Don't forget, there were experts sent to explore Daju Temple, 2 to 3 from each family. None have returned yet, I estimate. By now, nearly an hour had passed since nightfall, and with no returns, it's plausible to say they won't be returning at all. Xia Huqin understood this clearly in his heart. The subordinate evidently hadn't realized this. His expression froze upon hearing. Lord Gu, Commander Zhang, Commander Zhu, can't come back either. Hearing these 3 names, a heavy look crossed Xia Huqin's face. Zaihu Gu, Zhang Yuan, Zhu Qing. These 3 were prominent cold resistance level experts in Jiangxia town, each with a strength of over 25 tufts. Among them, his cousin Zaihu Gu's basic strength was as high as 35 tufts. Yet these 3 experts were lost just like that on Daju Temple's side. Of course, it wasn't just the 3 of Jiangxia town, but also the experts sent by the other 7 towns to scout hadn't returned either. It can be confirmed that they all met a disastrous fate. Chapter 977, Chapter 357, Losses in 8 towns, Zaihu Zhang's conviction, 4 armies arrive at Long Mountain. These dozen or so experts are not the same as ordinary cold resistance level. They are the backbone forces of each town. On any other day, losing just one would be considered a major loss. To lose so many at once like this is unprecedented. The power of that Vajra Master is truly terrifying. If it weren't for Uncle's intervention, we would most likely have perished in King Village as well. The most hateful thing is, despite the 9 towns suffering such heavy losses, we still haven't gathered a single piece of specific information about Daju Temple, and moreover. At this point, Xia Huqin's tone became tense, and he turned to look westward, his face full of worry. Up to now, Uncle Zaihu Zhang has yet to return. Before fleeing King Village, Xia Huqin personally witnessed the encounter between Zaihu Zhang and the Vajra Master. It was clear that Uncle Zaihu Zhang was not a match for the Vajra Master. Still not returning, could it be? Impossible, absolutely impossible. Uncle's strength is unparalleled. Even if he couldn't defeat that Vajra Master, escaping should pose no problem. Yes, yes. Xia Huqin could only comfort himself this way, continuing to wait. Who? Another 10 minutes or so passed, and suddenly the sound of wind came from the west. Xia Huqin quickly turned his head to look toward the west and saw a figure swiftly approaching the main building, his face instantly bursting with intense joy. But this joy did not last long and was soon replaced by worry. Uncle, how are you? The person who flew in from outside the door was indeed Zaihu Zhang. However, Zaihu Zhang's condition was terrible at this moment. His complexion was as pale as paper, his breath chaotic, and his golden brocade robe was in tatters. After flying into the main hall of the building, he couldn't even stand steadily and had to use a sword for support to sit on the main seat. Cough, 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 backslash, cough, backslash. After sitting on the main seat, he coughed up several mouthfuls of fresh blood. A large piece of silver-white bone was protruding from his left shoulder, and his left arm was nearly connected only by tattered skin and flesh, hanging feebly downward, as if a little force could tear down the entire arm. Xia Huqin had never seen his uncle in such a wretched state before, and even when going forward to assist him, he appeared somewhat at a loss, his inner composure clearly in disarray. What are you panicking for over a little injury? As long as I'm alive, it's fine. Seeing his nephew's panic and unseemly behavior, Zaihu Zhang clearly disapproved, first scolding him in a deep voice, and then, taking out a golden Dan medicine from his bosom and swallowing it, he closed his eyes to meditate briefly before opening them to look at Xia Huqin, asking in a deep voice, "Of the 19 who went to spy on Daju Temple, has anyone returned?" Being scolded by his uncle, Xia Huqin's emotions gradually calmed down, and he quickly shook his head in response. Not a single one has returned. Upon hearing this answer, Zaihu Zhang's face showed no sign of surprise, clearly having anticipated it. That Vajra Master from Daju Temple possesses strength at least above 7 juns, with an exceptionally powerful physique. Throughout the 9 towns, there is likely not a handful capable of matching him in single combat. With his prowess, the other 4 masters being of equal rank must have similar strength, possibly even more. Zaihu Gu and the others didn't die in vain. At this point, Xia Hong paused, showing a hint of anger, and continued. It's exasperating to have lost 19 lives without obtaining any useful information. We still know nothing about Daju Temple's situation, the characteristics of those four masters, or what they have been doing with the children taken over the past 7 years. It was only for naught that many lives were lost. Had I known, I might as well have gone to spy on Daju Temple myself instead. Uncle, you must. Upon hearing this, Xia Hong's expression immediately tightened with anxiety, afraid that his uncle, Xia Hong, would impulsively go to spy on Daju Temple himself. He quickly voiced his objection and continued earnestly. That Daju Temple must be related to the deceitful monster. Uncle cannot recklessly endanger himself without understanding the enemy. As long as Uncle is around, even if Jiangxia were to lose more cold resistance level warriors, it would be worth it. The strongest trait of the deceitful monster has never been its power, but its mysterious and unpredictable means. Without understanding, even a Xianyang level master could easily fall prey. This operation was designed in such a way to ensure Xia Hong's safety. If Xia Hong were to go spy on Daju Temple himself and something were to happen, Jiangxia town would suffer a major blow to its vitality. The reason why the 9 towns can maintain their current relative balance is fundamentally because the number of Xianyang level experts in each town is similar. To lose one without reason would be unimaginable. Mayan town is a bloody example of this. 3 years ago, when news of the Mayan town Lord Murongding's death was silently leaked, the 8 towns immediately changed their stance toward Mayan town. Besides the various oppressions and suppressions, Wuchuan even directly dispatched troops to occupy Mayan's territory. If it weren't for the combined pressure from the other 7 towns, at least half of Mayan's territory would have been lost. Xia Hong did not want Jiangxia to follow in Mayan town's footsteps. Xia Hong, being over 100 years old, naturally understood this truth. He did not refute after hearing his nephew's advice, instead showing a trace of hatred on his face. Those dogs from the 7 towns rely on their distance from Daju Temple and are unwilling to contribute, only wanting to sit back and reap rewards. They won't even send a single person. If there were a few more Xianyang level experts to go with me, there'd be no need for such diversion tactics. Now I've ended up with a crippled arm, damn it. Upon hearing these words, Xia Hong's expression also grew somber, but he then thought of something and said fiercely, "We've suffered heavy losses, but the 7 towns are no better. They thought they were clever, secretly sending so many to infiltrate King Village, and now they've all died at once. It's impossible for them to send anyone to infiltrate King Village again in the future." Chapter 978, Chapter 357, Losses of the 8 Towns, Xia Hong's Resolve, 4 Armies Arrive at Long Mountain Part 3. At this point he paused slightly, looked at Xia Hong with a worried expression, and continued to ask, "Uncle, our Jiangxia has completely fallen out with Daju Temple. The strength of the 5 great masters is so formidable. The future situation of Jiangxia. Jiangxia is right at the eastern exit on the north bank of Heng River, only 50 kilometers away from Qinghepu where Daju Temple is located. This distance is practically negligible. They are currently in Jinbai Village, which is Jiangxia's territory on the north bank of Heng River, only a little over 20 kilometers away from Daju Temple, even closer. With such a strong force appearing around the camp, and almost certain to be associated with the deceitful monster, the future situation of Jiangxia town is evidently not optimistic." Xia Hong naturally understood his nephew's meaning. His expression slightly darkened, and after contemplating for a moment, he sneered, "Now that it's confirmed Daju Temple is related to the deceitful monster, the 8 towns can't just stay out of it. When I return to the town, I will immediately report to the Lord and invite the other 8 town lords to come over to discuss how to deal with Daju Temple. Expecting Jiangxia to stand alone against the deceitful monster is sheer fantasy. Will the 8 towns agree? If they don't agree, then we'll give the entire eastern exit to Daju Temple as a generous gift to quell this misunderstanding. When Daju Temple exits North Shore, they can fight whoever they want, and we won't need to intervene. After all, Daju Temple is currently only demanding 6-year-old children and hasn't been indiscriminately massacring like other deceitful monsters. If the 8 towns don't care, then we won't either. If this turns into a catastrophe, everyone will suffer together." Upon hearing these words from his uncle, Xia Hong's eyes suddenly brightened. Exactly. Everyone knows what the 8 towns are plotting. If it were an opponent of average strength, Jiangxia town might just swallow the bitter pill and take some losses. But this Daju temple is evidently extraordinary. There's the Vajra master who could seriously injure Xia Hong, and the other 4 masters who haven't shown themselves, along with over 5,000 bhikkhus with hair and an unknown number of official bhikkhus. This strength clearly surpasses Jiangxia town. If the 8 towns dare to sit back and do nothing as before, Jiangxia town can indeed act as Xia Hong suggested, and the 8 towns wouldn't be able to criticize. Previously it was agreed upon that the 9 towns should support each other. Now there are deceitful monsters causing trouble, yet they are contributing nothing, just wanting to sit back and take advantage. How can there be such an easy thing? Xia Hong laughed coldly, evidently confident that Jiangxia town's call for aid wouldn't be refused by the other 8 towns this time. Great Xia Year 7, September 24, late at night. At the exit on the eastern side of the Xia Strait Road near Long Mountain stationing point, soldiers clad in light golden battle armor walked out one by one, and then proceeded toward the western Long Mountain stationing point. It seemed to be their first military march. The soldiers' expressions were unusually excited, and as soon as they walked out of the straight road, many started chatting excitedly. Is this the last segment of the straight road? In front is the Long Mountain stationing point, no more than 2 or 3 kilometers. This is so fast. We set off from the Xia City military camp at night, passing through Mirror Valley, Beehive, Wushwang, and finally here, including 1.5 hours of rest along the way, totaling only 5.5 hours, right? That's about right. I've studied the entire map of the Great Xia territory. This journey should be over 120 kilometers in total, factoring in rest time. Our marching speed should be a little over 30 kilometers per hour. Marching on a straight road is indeed fast. Speed up, we're almost there. There are still many people coming out behind on the straight road. Don't dawdle. At the straight road exit, Zhao Long interrupted the soldiers chatting up front with a loud shout, urging them to speed up with obvious frustration. Marching over 30 kilometers per hour, this pace is inferior to the Cloud Dragon army 5 years ago. That's quite poor. Standing beside Zhao Long, Yue Feng shook his head and smiled, saying, "Our 4 armies were just established a few days ago. Achieving this speed is already good. Soldier combat power, marching speed, battlefield execution. All these need to be improved gradually through training. Do you expect to reach perfection in 1 step?" Zhao Long nodded upon hearing this, but then smiled helplessly. "I understand everything you're saying, but the gap is really too big. I've heard this year, the Cloud Dragon army led by Director Yuan Dao and the Dragon Martial Army led by Yuan Dao have marching speeds of over 100 kilometers per hour on the straight road, almost 3 times our pace. Moreover, since last year, both armies have been focusing on increasing normal snowfield marching speeds. I've heard that even without using the straight road, they can march over 15 kilometers per hour." Upon hearing this, Yue Feng's expression stagnated for a moment before also nodding and smiling bitterly. He naturally understood these conditions. Both the Cloud Dragon Army and Dragon Martial Army, being the first 2 armies established by Great Xia, whether in terms of numbers at cold resistance level, overall combat effectiveness, marching speed, or battlefield execution strength, stand out among Great Xia's 11 armies. Never mind their newly established 4 armies. Even the other 5 armies with a bit of capability can clearly see the significant gap between them and the Cloud Dragon and Dragon Martial armies. Additionally, the few battle tactics currently being applied by the other 9 armies against the cold beasts and humans were initially researched by the Cloud Dragon and Dragon Martial armies several years ago, and then taught to the others. As commanders of large armies, Zhao Long naturally does not want his falcon hunting army to lag far behind. So, even on their first march outside, he set astonishingly high standards, managing over 30 kilometers only thanks to his constant urging along the way. Comparing to the Cloud Dragon Army and Dragon Martial Army aside, I've heard many of their battle tactics are personally taught by the Lord, who intends them to be the model for all future Great Xia armies. Let's try to first catch up with the strength of Xuanwu, Divine Martial, and Longyuan armies. Upon hearing Yue Feng's words, Zhao Long could only nod unwillingly. Trying to catch up with the Cloud Dragon and Dragon Martial armies is indeed quite impossible. Putting other factors aside, just considering the numbers of cold resistance level. The cold resistance levels in both the Cloud Dragon and Dragon Martial armies exceed 400, almost half of their entire troop. It's estimated that in a few years, Both armies will have everyone reach cold resistance level, whereas the combined total cold resistance level of their newly formed four armies is merely over 400. How can they possibly catch up? They should honestly compete with the other armies. We're almost there. I'll head back first to prepare meals at the Longshan camp and notify the Lord at the silver mine. The Great Xia Military Department has regulations that the station point is responsible for military meals and logistics wherever the army is stationed. Like Mirror Valley, Long Mountain also has a specific area designated as the camp within the station, called Longshan Camp. Yue Feng is the Longshan Guardian, so he's in charge of these matters. He spoke up to excuse himself to Zhao Long at this moment. Zhao Long, familiar with the rules, immediately nodded. "All right, you go ahead. I'll oversee the army for now." Yue Feng immediately turned to head toward the Long Mountain stationing point. Longshan Camp. It's no surprise I'd be staying here with the Falcon hunting army for several years. I wonder if there will be a chance to lead the army to expand Great Xia's territory. Zhao Long looked up toward the towering main range of Long Mountain to the west, his eyes full of longing to accomplish great feats. Chapter 979, Chapter 358, The Rapidly Growing Army, Invincible Among Beast King Level. Northern Longshan, about 30 kilometers deep to the west. Intense battle is unfolding amidst the icy mist-covered snowy forest. The combatants are humans against cold beasts. On the human side is a great Xia army of approximately 4,000, all clad in pale golden armor. On the cold beast side, it's an army of golden-armored thunder Kui of varying sizes, from about 5 or 6 meters to over 30 meters, clearly corresponding to low, medium, and high levels, with a total number exceeding 10,000. Numerically, the cold beasts have the advantage. But from an aerial view, one would notice the cold beasts being pushed back step by step, and even at the fringes, some low and mid-level thunder Kui are fleeing the battlefield, clearly terrified. The human army initiated the charge from the east toward the west, forming a clear three-part division. 2,000-strong forces occupied the left and right wings, continuously compressing the thunder Kui's maneuvering space. The remaining 2,000 pushed forward fiercely from the center, making the army resemble a triangular tip deeply thrusting into the Thunder Kui clan's territory. Close in on the left and right wings, and the center troops continue to charge forward with me. Yuan Dao's thunderous voice suddenly echoed at the forefront of the battlefield. From the left and right wings, 2 squads of 5 emerged, one bearing the flag and 4 offering protection, charging directly into the beast horde over 200 meters. The flag bearer then leaped high, forcefully planting the 10-meter military flag into the ground, while the other 4 coordinated to block surrounding cold beasts, guarding the flag. The same tactic was employed by the central forces, planting their military flag even deeper within the beast horde, firmly holding back the peripheral cold beasts, ensuring the flag stood tall against the cold wind. Flags are planted. Dragon Slayer brothers, charge with me. Tiger Leopard Army brothers, charge with your commander. Let the scattered cold beasts be. Xuanwu and Divine Martial brothers, focus on the flag positions and charge in. The Great Xia army has been established for 6 years, and whether in terms of configuration or battle tactics, the armies have become mature. Each army selects 5 elite soldiers from the reconnaissance camp to serve as the flag commanders, consisting of 1 chief envoy and 4 vice envoys. On the battlefield, their sole task is to guard the flag, ready to adjust its position based on the commander's orders, guiding the soldiers' attack direction. Normally, the Dragon Slayer, Tiger Leopard, Xuanwu, and Divine Martial armies should be commanded by their respective leaders, Yuan Cheng, Luo Yuan, Hong Guang, and Hong Tian, but the top commander of this battle unmistakably is Yuan Dao. Thus, at Yuan Dao's command, the 20 flag commanders from the 4 armies immediately headed, coordinating the flag directives, followed by Yuan Cheng and the other 3 commanders leading their forces into the direction indicated by the flags. In battles involving just hundreds, it can already become somewhat chaotic for individuals. In the heat of battle, if one doesn't pay attention to the battlefield dynamics, there's a significant chance of friendly fire, leading to isolated fights and preventing the army from reaching its full potential. This is even more pronounced when fighting with thousands. The establishment of flag commanders has perfectly addressed this issue. Once any army in Great Xia is established, the craftsman department immediately follows the commander's request to craft the army's flag. Each flagpole is made of 10,000 forged fine iron, while the flag surface uses Great Xia's top-grade silk fabric. Even the patterns and words on the flag are meticulously sewn with precious silver threads. Such high standards and elaborate flag designs serve, on the surface, to enhance the flag's sanctity, thereby boosting the cohesion among soldiers. But practically, it ensures every soldier on the battlefield can clearly see it, enhancing execution efficiency on the battlefield. Just like now, at the front lines of the Dragon Slayer, Tiger Leopard, Xuanwu, and Divine Marshal, the flags prominently remind the soldiers of each army of the current main attack direction. Coupled with the stern commands from the four commanders, all soldiers concentrate their efforts, resulting in terrifying destructiveness and lethality. Among the same level cold beasts, Thunder Kui ranks top in strength, and when charging together, a Thunder Kui horde of this size exerts an impact far beyond ordinary imagination. Moreover, compared to a beast tide of the same scale, they exhibit extraordinary organization. Moo! On the left side of the battlefield, a dozen high-level Thunder Kui roar simultaneously, causing thousands of low and mid-level Thunder Kui, initially entangled with the soldiers, to all turn and converge toward them. The convergence is not yet over. Those dozen high-level Thunder Kui, each over 30 meters long, first launch a fierce charge against the Dragon Slayer army on the advancing left flank, while thousands of Thunder Kui newly gathered around them simultaneously turn and launch a unified charge against the left wing. They plan for a do-or-die counterattack in their dreams. Dragon Slayer commander Yuan Cheng immediately discerns Thunder Kui's intent, swinging his silver double-bladed giant axe to first hack aside a high-level Thunder Kui obstructing his path, then jumping directly in front of the Thunder Kui charge, shouting, "Everyone form a shield wall, all cold resistance-level soldiers to the front, block those dozen high-level Thunder Kui, don't let them escape." Having said this, he plants the giant axe at his feet, retrieves the golden round shield always on his back, calms his breath, and firmly plants his legs downward. Chapter 980, Chapter 358, The Army's Rapid Growth, Invincible Among Beast King Level. The over 1,000 soldiers of the Dragon Slayer army on the left wing did the same as him, all temporarily putting down their weapons and in unison, taking out the golden round shields from their backs. They held their breath and focused, fixing their gaze on the thousands of Thunder Kui charging towards them, showing no trace of fear on their faces. Boom! Yuan Cheng stood at the very front, naturally being the first to be struck by the Thunder Kui. Moreover, it was an advanced Thunder Kui. No, rather than saying he was struck, it would be more accurate to say that he charged ahead himself. No matter how burly Yuan Cheng was, he was only 2 meters tall. Compared to a Thunder Kui in combat form, with a body length of 30 meters, under normal circumstances, using a golden round shield to block would be out of the question. A Thunder Kui should have been able to jump over him without any issues. However, the actual situation was that, when the Thunder Kui swooped in, Yuan Cheng seized the opportunity during the moment when the Thunder Kui's left foreleg hit the ground, and actively rammed forward. Crash! Even with a body length of over 30 meters, the Thunder Kui with that one thrust let out a cracking sound from its left foreleg, and its body was knocked back more than 10 meters, abruptly halting its charge. Boom, boom, boom. Yuan Cheng's move was just the beginning. The soldiers of the Dragon Slayer army on the left wing, almost uniformly taking the opportunity to advance, managed to block all the Thunder Kui in the first wave. Of course, not everyone was able to push the Thunder Kui back like Yuan Cheng, but the least capable soldiers could still stand off against the Thunder Kui, preventing them from breaking through the left wing lines and escaping. The Thunder Kui, with their massive size, had the advantage in single combat but couldn't charge simultaneously because of their bulk, needing to advance sequentially. Therefore, while the frontline Thunder Kui were stopped by the soldiers, those in the rear continued to charge, leading to inevitable collisions. Boom, boom. The collisions between thousands of Thunder Kui created shockwaves that shook the entire battlefield and turned it into utter chaos. Just as Yuan Cheng was retrieving his shield to lift his giant axe, the advanced Thunder Kui, forced back by him earlier, charged at him again in a fit of fury. His brow furrowed slightly, realizing it was too late to act. He immediately raised the giant axe to shield his front, attempting to endure the impact. Boom! However, just as the Thunder Kui was still over 10 meters away, a silver broadsword suddenly smashed down across its head, Caught off guard, the Thunder QE's head plummeted, meeting the ground in a fierce collision. "Thank you, Director Yuan." Seeing that it was Yuan Dao, Yuan Cheng immediately cupped his hands in gratitude. Yuan Dao simply nodded gently to him, then jumped directly onto the Thunder QE's head. While thrusting the broadsword fiercely into its eyeball, he continued issuing orders to the army. The Central Army moves left, the Right Army continues to charge. The Central Army consisted of the Xuanwu and Divine Martial Armies, while the Right Army was commanded by Luo Yuan's Tiger Leopard Army. Upon receiving Yuan Dao's command, the 15 flag commanders of the three armies moved at once, and the banners changed direction again. With that change came an even more intense charge from the army. The Central Army, which had been charging west, now turned left toward the southern position where the Dragon Slayer army was. The Right Army, already advancing from north to south, did not change direction. However, their banner advanced another 200 meters south, and the soldiers charged more fervently. The final stand of the Thunder QE clan was facing south, already blocked by the Dragon Slayer army. With Yuan Dao's order, except for a few sporadic ones that might escape, the entire Thunder QE clan was nearly encircled, leaving only a western escape path. For some reason, they just wouldn't flee westward. This grand battle had clearly been raging for a long time. On the eastern perimeter of the battlefield, at least 1,000 Thunder QE lay fallen, each with almost 100 silver iron arrows embedded in their bodies. A mile to the east, thousands of scattered strong bows and arrow quivers lay on the ground, clearly left by soldiers after shooting all their arrows. A 4-digit-sized beast tied from a single clan, I originally thought it would require the full mobilization of all 6 armies. Who would have thought? We didn't even need the Cloud Jiao and Long Wu armies. The Dragon Slayer army was founded in the 3rd year of Great Xia. Their combat prowess being formidable is understandable. The Tiger Leopard, Xuanwu, and Divine Martial armies were established in the 4th and 5th years, not even fully 3 years to date, yet their combat prowess is already this terrifying. On the outermost perimeter to the east of the battlefield, Li Yuankun, who had just arrived from the Long Mountain outpost, picked up a strong bow from the ground and gazed across the battlefield. Seeing the Dragon Slayer 4 armies driving the Thunder QE clan into a corner, his face was filled with astonishment. Previous generations planted the trees, later generations enjoy the shade. The battle tactics and military systems developed by the Cloud Jiao and Long Wu armies before them are just to be practiced by the 4 armies. Their rapid growth is natural, but even facing such a large-scale Thunder QE clan, I didn't expect it either. Yue Feng was not the only one who came. Yue Feng had just returned to the Long Mountain outpost, arranged matters at the base, and immediately had Li Yuankun bring him to the silver mine to find Xia Hong. Li Yuankun was the deputy captain of the Mountain River team, and he had always partnered with Yue Feng. When Yue Feng was assigned as the Longshan Guardian, Li Yuankun was also appointed as the head of the Longshan Camp supply and military equipment. Regarding the Mountain River army affairs, Yue Feng could have originally sent Li Yuankun back to Xia City to manage, but he placed a high value on the Mountain River army, deciding on personal involvement, so he had Li Yuankun remain stationed at Long Mountain. In the Long Mountain area, there were a total of 5 silver mines. Yue Feng, having just come over from Xia City, did not know where Xia Hong was, so he had Li Yuankun lead the way. Chapter 981, Chapter 358, The Rapidly Growing Army, Unmatched Among Beast King Level. The 2 people came over just in time to witness the fierce battle of the 4 forces with their own eyes. Rarely exposed to military affairs, they were naturally deeply shocked by the scene before them. Remembering what Li Yuankun mentioned earlier on the way here, Yue Feng softly asked, "You just said that this is already the 4th silver mine that the Lord has dealt with personally, right?" Li Yuankun nodded and said, "Not only is it the 4th, but among the 5 silver mines found in Long Mountain so far, this is the largest one. Director Mu personally led a team to survey it the year before, and conservatively estimated it's a medium-sized vein at least, or possibly even large." Upon hearing this, Yue Feng's expression immediately turned a bit excited. A reserve of less than 100,000 tons is a micro-sized. 100,000 to 500,000 tons is small. 500,000 to 3 million tons is medium-sized, and large is 3 million to 10 million tons. If it really is a large silver mine, Great Xia won't lack silver for a long time, and with this silver mine located within the Long Mountain territory, the earnings of the Long Mountain station will likely rank first year after year, filling his heart with excitement as the Longshan Guardian. Because this is the largest silver mine, the Cold Beast clan that occupies it is also the strongest, boasting a full 4 Beast King level Thunder QE, which is truly terrifying. If it weren't for the Lord, relying on the army alone probably wouldn't be enough. Hearing Li Yuankun's gasp of admiration, Yue Feng's expression slightly lifted. He nodded deeply, then looked up towards the west direction, his eyes full of fervor. The west, there's a snow peak about 300 to 400 meters high. Above the snow peak, there were 5 beams of strong light, 1 red and 4 gold, fiercely clashing. Being too far away, Yue Feng couldn't see very clearly, but from the trajectory of the 5 beams of strong light, it was evident that the 4 golden beams on the outskirts were attacking the red beam in the middle. I heard that on the 9th day of the 9th month, when the Lord completed his retreat, he single-handedly faced 3 Beast Kings in Mirror Valley, killing 2 and chasing off the 3rd. When I heard about it, I already found it incredible. Judging by the current situation, that wasn't even his full strength. Sir, how strong do you think the Lord really is now? Yue Feng's expression was fervent, and Li Yuankun was not to be outdone. Watching the red light not only growing more and more intense, but also frequently pushing back the 4 golden lights, breaking through the encirclement, with 2 of the golden lights apparently beginning to flag, his face was full of admiration, his pupils full of fervor, no less than Yue Feng's. This clearly showed Xia Hong gaining the upper hand, naturally visible to Yue Feng, who took a slight breath and replied quietly, "Unclear, but I can try to deduce a bit. Logging realm corresponds to low-level cold beasts, earth-digging realm to intermediate cold beasts, cold resistance level to advanced cold beasts, so it seems Beast King level cold beasts correspond to our human Xianyang level. At corresponding levels, humans must team up to face cold beasts, which is almost customary, allowing the deduction that a normal Xianyang level breakthrough would be weaker than a Beast King level cold beast. Like the Lord who breaks through to Xianyang level and can easily overpower them, and also can fight against numbers, is definitely few and far between, perhaps there aren't any at all. Based on this deduction, even being also Xianyang level, the Lord's strength is much greater than others, possibly even several times or dozens of times stronger." Yue Feng paused slightly here and finally said solemnly, "I think the Lord of 9 Towns is probably not even a match for the Lord." Speaking of which, Yue Feng made a rather hasty conclusion, considering he had never even encountered the 9 Towns, let alone the Lord of 9 Towns. It was a judgment based solely on his instincts, without any factual evidence. Certainly not. However, Li Yuankun did not oppose at all upon hearing it, indeed nodded vigorously, giving an even more affirmative answer than him. Yue Feng smiled upon hearing this, not saying anything more. "All troops hear my command, release the arrows." Suddenly, a female voice came from the battlefield below, interrupting the conversation between Yue Feng and Li Yuankai. "It's Madame's voice. It's from the west side." Yue Feng immediately recognized the voice as belonging to Madame Li Xuanling, and looked towards the west side along with Li Yuankun, their expressions suddenly shaken. The Thunder QE clan, forced into a dead end by the 4 forces, unsurprisingly, finally chose to escape to the west side, towards that peak. However, as soon as they turned their heads facing west, having run barely 200 to 300 meters, a sudden shower of silver arrows flew out from the snow forest ahead of the mountain. This wave of arrows, unlike anything the 2 of them had seen before, the silver light brought by thousands of arrows directly lit up the snowy night, almost forming a silver screen, pouring entirely onto the first wave of Thunder QE at the forefront. Moreover, over half of the arrows penetrated directly through their bodies, firmly embedded into the second wave of Thunder QE behind them. Silver-made bone-piercing arrows. It's the Cloud Dragon Army and Dragon Martial Army. Seeing the power of the arrow rain, Li Yuankun immediately identified it as the bone-piercing arrows forged by the craftsman department using silver. As Great Xia's resources became more abundant, the specifications of the arrows were also divided into many categories. The ordinary 10 forged iron arrow is generally used by ordinary earth-digging realm, enough for hunting low-level cold beasts. The earth-digging realm limit uses 100 forged iron arrows. If hunting cold beasts with stronger defenses, it requires 1,000 forged iron arrows. As for cold resistance level, it requires at least 1,000 forged iron arrows. If teaming up to hunt advanced cold beasts, 10,000 forged iron arrows should also be prepared. The 10,000 forged iron arrow requires 500,000 jin of iron ore for each one forged, and the difficulty of forging is high, consuming massive manpower and resources. Thus the camp's supply department reserves are limited, and unless there's a special task, they're generally not available for exchange. Chapter 982, Chapter 358, The Rapidly Growing Army, Invincible Within Beast King Level /4. As for the silver-made arrows, there are even fewer of them. Silver has extremely strong penetrating power. Arrows made from it can easily pierce through the bones of cold beasts. However, due to its attribute of restraining deceitful monsters, using it to forge weapons is acceptable, but making arrows is genuinely too extravagant. Currently, Great Xia has forged a total of 200,000 silver-made arrows, known as bone-piercing arrows. They have stored 100,000 in the camp's supply department as inventory, while the other 100,000 have naturally been given to the most powerful two armies, the Cloud Dragon and Dragon Martial Army. I see, I thought these Thunder Cues didn't flee west because the Lord and the four Beast Kings were fighting in the sky. It seems they've long noticed the Cloud Dragon Army and Dragon Martial Army, hence the delay. Yue Feng suddenly understood and continued to look closely. The arrow rain from the Cloud Dragon and Dragon Martial armies lasted for over a minute. The Thunder Kui clan, which initially had just over 5,000, lost another near 20%, about 1,000 heads. Huff. Army charge, coordinate with the four armies and clear out the remaining enemies. Two flags suddenly rose from the snow forest and then directly penetrated the center of the Thunder Kui clan. Accompanied by Li Xuanling's second order, two golden armor armies suddenly emerged from the snow forest and fiercely charged towards the military flags, which directed towards the Thunder Kui clan. Unlike the earth-shaking scene of the four armies' previous battles, the emergence of the Cloud Dragon and Dragon Martial armies seemed exceptionally calm. 2,000 golden armored soldiers entered the interior of the Thunder Kui clan without uttering a single shout. One charge was enough to show the vast difference between the four armies and these two. The few hundred intermediate Thunder Kuis in the front row had at most one chance to charge. If they failed to break through, the soldiers of the two armies would immediately annihilate them. The sharp horns of the Thunder Kuis were hopeless against the golden armor of the soldiers. The strength of the low and intermediate level Thunder Kuis clearly couldn't match these soldiers. Some advanced cold beasts could make some noise, but they would soon attract numerous cold resistance level soldiers. They could last only about 100 breaths. Ultimately, they would succumb to their misfortune. Within 200 or 300 breaths, Yue Feng saw at least more than 300 intermediate Thunder Kuis perish, and several dozen advanced Thunder Kuis the same. Though they struggled for a longer time, under Xia Chuan's leadership and the combined eradication of the two armies' soldiers, they had no room for resistance. Looking at the golden battle armor worn by the soldiers of the two armies, Li Yuankun couldn't help but show a hint of envy. 1,000 forged level Lei Kui golden armor. Normally, one must have a 7th grade noble title to wear it. But with no current wars, advancing to the 7th grade is extremely difficult. Throughout Great Xia, there are only 2 7th grade Kingaming marquises, Minister and Yuan Sijang. No wonder the cold resistance level soldiers in the camp are all fighting to get into the Cloud Dragon and Dragon Martial armies. This war armor alone is enough to make anyone drool. War armor above the 100 forged level is strictly controlled by Great Xia. Currently, the highest grade war armor available for individuals to exchange in the camp supply department is the ordinary 100 forged iron armor. The 100 forged level Lei Kui golden armor has already been classified as war-prepared material, not to mention the 1,000 forged Thunder Kui golden armor. Individuals simply can't exchange for it, no matter how much contribution value they have. Even Yue Feng's eyes were full of envy. The newly established Mountain River Army, like the Dragon Slayer, Tiger, and Leopard armies and the 9 other armies, only wore the 100 forged level Lei Kui golden armor. It's wrapping up free hunt now. Li Xuanling had already given the order to wrap up, allowing the army to freely hunt the Thunder Kuis. The remaining more than 3,000 Thunder Kuis no longer posed any real threat. Most had evidently lost the will to fight and were only focused on escape. The soldiers who heard Li Xuanling's final order started seeking out the advanced Thunder Kuis. If not possible, then they sought to kill the intermediate ones. Interestingly, The low-level thunder cues were the safest at this time as no one paid any attention to them, allowing them to escape. It's wrapped up, we should first go and meet the madam, the lord probably too. Boom! Just as Yue Feng was planning to bring Li Yunkun to meet Li Xuanling, a sudden thunderous sound from the sky interrupted them. Both of them looked up at the sky, their pupils suddenly contracted. Unexpectedly, at an unknown moment, the 4 golden lights in the sky had transformed into 4 thunder cues with bodies over 100 meters long covered in golden armor. With such massive thunder cue figures, the 2 of them could naturally see clearly at once. 4 Beast King-level thunder cues hovered high above, their pupils red, nostrils flaring with heavy breaths, each with a dozen or so bloody holes from which blood gushed out, dripping from the sky onto the snow below, where the intense heat of the blood instantly melted the accumulated snow and sent up wisps of steam. In stark contrast to them was Xia Hong in the middle. Although Xia Hong's face couldn't be seen clearly, the radiating red glow was still intense and fiery. From this, Yue Feng could judge that Xia Hong was definitely still holding the upper hand. Of course, Yue Feng wasn't the only one to see the situation. Many soldiers below, including the commanders of various armies, also detected something. The 2 thunder cues on the west side of the Lord seemed to be faltering. The necks of those 2 thunder cues are injured. One thunder cue's left eye seems to be pierced right. The Lord is using the dragon sparrow saber at this time. If it was the cold blood blade being used today, these 4 thunder cues might not have held up till now. Why not use the cold blood blade? You do know? The cold blood blade is being reforged at Artifact Refining Pavilion. Mu Sijeng took 90% of the high-level craftsmen at the camp almost half a year ago, still hasn't finished yet. The discussion among the soldiers below wasn't far off the mark from reality. High in the sky, Xia Hong, slightly panting, looked at the 4 Beast King-level thunder cues ahead, his peripheral vision glancing at the dragon sparrow saber in his hand. He shook his head slightly, showing a hint of helplessness on his face. Without the cold blood blade, it truly is hard to kill. The cold blood blade had been taken by Mu Dong for reforging half a year ago, leaving him with this dragon sparrow saber, which already had gaps after battling Yang Fa at Beishuo. Hastily using it to deal with the 4 Beast King-level thunder cues in front of him indeed felt a bit overwhelming. However, having faced the 5 Beast Kings of the previous 3 silver mines, coupled with these 4 Beast King-level thunder cues before him, I've basically figured out the strength divisions of the Beast King-level cold beasts, so it wasn't entirely fruitless. Xia Hong turned to look at the Beast King-level thunder cue directly in front of him, eyes gleaming with a hint of light. The newly advanced Beast King-level cold beasts have strength not exceeding 200 manes. The slightly more powerful ones have strength ranging from about 400 to 600 manes. The next stage would be this Thunder Cue King before me. So far, the strongest Beast King I've encountered has power exceeding 800 manes. Whether there are stronger Beast Kings, Xia Hong was still unsure. But judging by the scale of this silver mine, a stronger Beast King could only be about as strong as he is now, with a very small chance of surpassing him. Which means I'm invincible within the Beast King level. Xia Hong gently uttered these 7 words, staring at the most powerful Beast King level Thunder Cue in front of him, eyes filled with pride. Whiz! He didn't charge toward that most powerful Thunder Cue, but his body suddenly pulled back and rushed toward the most injured Thunder Cue to the west. Roared! The Thunder Cue, the strongest one, apparently the leader, clearly didn't anticipate Xia Hong's movement trajectory at first. Realizing that Xia Hong's target was not itself, it let out a furious roar and directly led the other 3 thunder cues to charge forward. But not only in strength, its speed was also far inferior to Xia Hong's. Before the 3 thunder cues could close in, Xia Hong had already stood in front of the severely injured thunder cue. Poof! Roared! The dragon sparrow saber in Xia Hong's right hand directly thrust into the only remaining right eye of that thunder cue. With an abrupt backward force in his left hand, a gigantic dark red skeletal phantom silhouette over 1,000 feet high slowly coalesced behind him, mirroring his movements. Boom! As his fist descended, the sky within a radius of 5 li shook violently, and the wailing of the thunder cue ceased abruptly, its massive body plummeting to the ground like a cannonball, raising a snow mist over 1,000 meters high. Boom! Roar! Upon hearing the roar, Xia Hong quickly turned his head, intending to deal with the 3 Thunder Kiwis that were closing in on him. But as he turned, he found the 3 Thunder Kiwis all turned around simultaneously and flew directly towards the depths to the west of Long Mountain. What a pity. I'll need to ask Mu Dong to speed it up. No way can I do without the cold blood blade. Xia Hong sighed slightly, and after a moment of contemplation, looked down at the small mountain over 300 meters high below, a smile finally emerging on his face. The 4th silver mine is ours. Let's get the camp supply department people to come over right away. If it's a large one, it would be fantastic. Chapter 983. Chapter 359. 4 silver mines, troop rotation, urgent news from Su Ning, 3rd 7th rank title. From arriving at Long Mountain on September 14 to today, it has been exactly 10 days. These 10 days have been incredibly fruitful. 2 small mines, 1 tiny one, and today's counts as a medium one, enough to supply Great Xia with silver for at least 15 years. Now we just wait to mine it, and once the reserves are up, the 3 pavilions of artifact refining, alchemy, and martial arts, the Black Land and Iron Wall, will all be able to be further upgraded. Xia Hong flew to the western side of the mountain, picked up the Beast King-level Thunder Kiwi he had just killed with one hand, and flew toward the great army, his face full of an uncontrollable smile. Silver was his most important objective in coming to Long Mountain, and it seemed now that it had been perfectly achieved, because today's silver mine was the largest scale among the 7 silver mines currently surveyed in Great Xia, with the strongest Cold Beast clan entrenched above it. Having resolved this silver mine, the one left in Long Mountain and the 2 in Beiming Mountain essentially posed no problem anymore. Of course, the 10 days' gains weren't just 4 silver mines. Before landing, Xia Hong scanned the area below from midair, roughly estimating the number of Cold Beast corpses to be over 4,000, and a smile broke out on his face. Indeed, the battlefield is the best place for training troops. The kill count in the first silver mine battle was only just over 30%, and after 3 major battles, it has increased to over 40%. Achieving this against Cold Beasts is practically the limit. The scale of battles between 2 armies, as long as both sides number over 1,000, can't have too high a kill count. After all, both sides' primary objective is to rout the enemy's living forces, not kill everyone. If Xia Hong remembers correctly, in the era of cold weapons, as soon as any side on the battlefield suffered a reduction of more than 5%, there would immediately be a risk of collapse. No matter how well trained, no matter how strong their sense of honor, elite forces could endure at most about 15% reduction. Exceeding 20% and still maintaining fighting capability, that would be an army determined to fight to the death in a desperate situation. The Ice Abyss, of course, also belongs to the cold weapon era, but different from the past life, the people here are not just strong in body. Their mental resilience, honed in the harsh environment, far surpasses normal human capabilities. Even so, people of Ice Abyss still fall under the category of human. As long as they're human, some inertia is unavoidable. They're just stronger in endurance. Every battle in Longyu during Great Xia Year 2 has been replayed, with sufficient data to support. A normal army composed of the earth-digging realm can endure a maximum of 10% combat casualties. Exceeding 10% will quickly lead to collapse. An elite army formed of the earth-digging realm limit, like the Longyu Army or Blood Guard Army, can endure a maximum of 20% combat casualties. Once this threshold is exceeded, collapse will also be imminent. This collapse does not refer to the final number of enemies killed, but to the change in battlefield situation. In other words, the side whose combat casualties first exceed this threshold, unless they have external support, will invariably be defeated. Although the organization of Cold Beasts is not as strong as human armies, they have tougher life force and larger physical advantage, so in large-scale battles, they can tolerate up to 20% casualties, comparable to an elite human army. It's kind of interesting to say that although Great Xia currently has 11,000 strong armies, up to now, they've only engaged with other human armies at camps once 5 years ago, with the Cloud Dragon Army. Just because they haven't fought human armies doesn't mean their combat strength is lacking. In the past 5 years, using beast tides for training has almost become a regular practice for Great Xia. The number of this Thunder Kiwi clan has exceeded 10,000. Although it's the smallest 4-digit figure, it's still a real large-scale beast tide. Judging by the fighting capability from 5 years ago, 10 Longyu army's 10,000 elite soldiers couldn't possibly stand against them. As for us in Great Xia, we wouldn't even need the Cloud Dragon and Longwu armies to step in. Just relying on the Dragon Slayer, 4 armies could force them into dire straits. At the same level, the individual strength of cold beasts far surpasses humans. This is common knowledge in Ice Abyss. 4,000 soldiers against 10,000 cold beasts, and there are not weak singular Thunder Kui clan. Great Xia achieved such astonishing results through the power of strong bows, weapons, war armor, cultivation, Dan medicine, rigorous daily training, and the flexible use of battle tactics. If you were to carefully account and delve into it, the factors are, of course, innumerable. But the strength deployed by the army is very real. Once truly on the battlefield, no soldier would care about these factors. In everyone's mind, there's only victory or defeat, because losing most likely means death. Military affairs are of great importance to the nation and cannot be ignored. Especially now, soon to engage with the 9 towns, Great Xia is highly likely to face a new round of warfare. Naturally, Xia Hong places even greater importance on the army, which is why, as soon as he left closed-door training, he went to Arrow Bamboo Forest to inspect the great army, and after the inspection, directly led the army to Long Mountain. The matter of the silver mine is, of course, a top priority, but he also wants to take the chance to see if the army's readiness has slackened over the past 5 years, whether their combat strength is steadily increasing, and at what kind of level their overall fighting capability currently stands. I've basically seen enough in these 10 days. With the current combat strength the army can exert, if the forces of the 9 towns are on the same level as Longyu Army and Blood Guard Army, then Cloud Dragon and Longwu armies wouldn't even have to take action. Xia Hong's eyes flashed with a tinge of pride as he slowly descended to the ground. Chapter 984. Chapter 359. 4 Silver Mines Army Rotation. Urgent News from Suning, 3rd Grade 7 Title Part 2. Did you get hurt? As soon as he landed, Li Xuanling immediately came forward to see him. Noticing the several tears in his clothes, she quickly asked in a soft voice if he was injured. Xia Hong shook his head, handed over the Beast King-level Thunder Kui in his hand to her, and said with a light smile, "Didn't you want to make 2 sets of Kui gold armor for Shenger and Yar? The high-level Thunder Kui was a bit lacking, so use the skull of this Thunder Kui King." Hearing his words, Li Xuanling was taken aback. She obviously hadn't expected Xia Hong to know about this, and immediately said with feigned anger, "I was wondering why you didn't go deal with that simple small silver mine first and instead rushed here. Those 2 aren't leaving Xia City, so there's no rush to make the armor. Do you need to show off here?" Just now, when Xia Hong took on 4 opponents in the sky, she was quite worried. However, while she spoke, she lifted the already 2-meter-long Beast King-level Thunder Kui, and staring at its golden skull, a smile appeared on Li Xuanling's face. She was clearly already considering the design of the Kui gold armor. Seeing through Li Xuanling's seemingly reproachful but actually concerned attitude, Xia Hong felt a warmth pass through his heart, then raised an eyebrow slightly. Aside from the previously mentioned matters, in the past 10 days, the greatest gain might be his wife Li Xuanling standing before him. Li Xuanling has an extremely strong ability to lead soldiers. Back during the Longyu battle, one could already see some signs. Her performance during the attack on the beehive was not bad, but due to the 2,000 Longyu army being ambushed by Xia Chuan using a straight path and small torches, the entire army was wiped out, so Xia Hong was not very clear about her specific military talents. In these 10 days at Long Mountain, Xia Hong had to focus on dealing with the Beast Kings, so the 4 big battles were all planned and directed by Li Xuanling. To be fair, the battles were indeed well fought. Xia Hong thought that even if it had been himself, he might not have commanded as well as she did. Moreover, Xia Hong took the time to observe that Li Xuanling was not a typical military talent, but rather a commander. She excels in managing and directing large-scale troops, and her grasp of the overall battlefield situation far surpasses that of ordinary people. In this regard, probably only Yuan Dao and Xia Chuan could compare. But those 2 have long experience in leading armies, whereas this was Li Xuanling's first time. This can be considered a great thing. The more such talents, the better. As his wife, Li Xuanling naturally commands respect in Great Xia. As the scale of the Great Xia army grows, her talents will definitely be put to use sooner or later. "Oh, is Yue Feng here?" Xia Hong suddenly looked up, gazing towards the eastern side of the army. Yue Feng and Li Yuankun were running towards them together, and soon they arrived in front of Xia Hong and Li Chuanling. Both bowed deeply. "Greetings, Lord, greetings, Madam. Has the Mountain River Army arrived?" Recently, Yue Feng has been busy running between Xia City and Long Mountain, organizing the Mountain River Army, as Xia Hong knew. Seeing him return from Xia City immediately gave it away. However, his guess was clearly incomplete. Yue Feng replied with cupped hands, reporting to the leader, not just the Mountain River Army. The minister has ordered the Mountain River, Falcon Hunting, Xingwu, and Bijou 4 armies to come to Long Mountain. Additionally, he ordered me to inform Director Yuan to lead the Cloud Jiao, Long Wu, Dragon Slayer, and Tiger Leopard 4 armies back to Xia City to await orders. The soldiers were busy clearing the battlefield. Yuan Dao had already walked over and nodded immediately upon hearing Yue Feng's words. The rotational defense of the 4 armies was probably intended for the newly formed armies to use this Long Mountain opportunity for training. Xia Hong immediately guessed Xia Chuan's intention and nodded. "That's good. Let's call it a day for tonight. It's almost dawn." Yuan Dao informed the army to speed up the clearing work and return to Long Mountain camp before dawn. Rest for 2 days, then you can lead the army back to Xia City. Understood. No need to stand here. Head back to Long Mountain. Inform the artisan department to come over for exploration, confirm the scale of this silver mine, and organize manpower to start mining by tomorrow night. The supporting straight path can also be built. I will take care of it as soon as I return to Long Mountain. Upon hearing this, Yue Feng immediately showed a bit of excitement and nodded. These matters naturally fell under his responsibilities as the Longshan Guardian. Xia Hong and Li Chuanling first left towards the east, with Yue Feng and Li Yuankun following closely behind. Yuan Dao continued to lead the army in clearing the battlefield, as they couldn't just leave the cold beasts lying around. "Madam, let me help you carry the Thunder Kui." Li Yuankun was attentive. Seeing Li Chuanling holding the Beast King level Thunder Kui, he immediately stepped forward to take it from her, helping to carry it back to the Long Mountain station. Li Chuanling nodded, handed the Thunder Kui to him, and walked ahead to join Xia Hong, softly asking, "Are you planning to clear all 7 silver mines in Longyu at once?" Xia Hong was momentarily stunned by the question and immediately nodded. "Of course, all 7 silver mines are destined to be mined. Clearing them all at once saves us from running back and forth in the future." Li Chuanling immediately shook her head and said softly, "I don't think it's necessary. Silver mines can only be mined by those with a basic strength exceeding 20,000 pounds. Given the current cultivation level of the camp, 4 silver mines are already more than enough. Even if 3 more are cleared, the output won't increase, and it's not possible to move everyone's resources around for mining. Silver mines are not like iron mines or coal mines. They are frequently disturbed by cold beasts. A large army must be stationed nearby during mining. With the 4 Cloud Jiao armies gone, and only the Xuanwu and Divine Martial armies left here, the combat capability of the newly formed 4 armies is lacking. Guarding these 4 silver mines is already a challenge. If you open new ones, which army will you assign to watch over them? Moreover, the Cold Beast clans guarding these 4 silver mines have only been driven away, not eradicated. Today, 3 Beast King level Thunder Kui and the Beast King level Blood Jade Fox from the 2nd silver mine have all escaped from your grasp. Who knows if they will return later? Are you planning to stay here at Long Mountain forever? Chapter 985. Chapter 359. 4 Silver Mines Army Rotation. Urgent message from Su Ning, the 3rd 7th rank noble. Hearing Li Chuanling's words, Xia Hong's expression slightly froze. Indeed. He was only concerned about convenience for himself, completely forgetting everything else. Moreover, those 3 silver mines can be reserved for training the army. Waiting until I break through to the Xianyang level to solve it isn't too late either. Xia Hong turned to look at Li Xuanling with a trace of resentment on her face, which immediately brought a smile to his face. He nodded and said, "All right, let's do it your way." In the past 10 days, he had been entirely focused on dealing with those Beast Kings, neglecting Li Xuanling quite a bit. No wonder she felt resentful. The 4 of them soon returned to the Long Mountain outpost. Compared to 5 years ago, there wasn't much change in Long Mountain. After all, there were already tens of thousands of people living there, and the basics in the camp were all in place. The only addition was a main building for the government office next to the original main building, following the regulations of Great Xia. The original main building has now been converted into the exclusive palace for Xia Hong and Li Chuanling. Xia Hong had mainly stayed at Long Mountain during this time, living in there. Returning to the camp, he led Li Chuanling through with familiar ease. Yue Feng still had work to do. After dropping off Xia Hong and Li Xuanling at their residence, he immediately took Li Yuankun to the adjacent main building of the government office. In the last half hour before dawn, Yuan Dao returned to the Longshan camp with the 6 armies, carrying over 4,000 Thunder Kui. Their arrival naturally caused a stir among the 4 new military brigades. Those selected to join the new army were at least former members of intermediate hunting teams, and many were from advanced hunting teams. But seeing so many prey at once was a first for them. The crucial point was that among those 4,000 Thunder Kui, over 70% were intermediates, with more than 80 being advanced Thunder Kui. This was truly terrifying. Over 80 advanced cold beasts taken down in one night. What level of strength is this? What's so special about advanced Thunder Kui? I just saw Lord Military Preparation carrying a Thunder Kui only 2 meters long into the main building. 2 meters long, a Beast King level Thunder Kui. In the camp, a soldier was initially stunned upon hearing this from a comrade, then quickly realized, and his face showed deep shock. Thunder Kui is one of the largest kinds of cold beasts. Low-level Thunder Kui can reach 6 or 7 meters in length, intermediates around 10 meters. Advanced in their normal form are over 5 meters and can extend to over 30 meters in combat form. Thunder Kui 2 meters in length could only be a Beast King level. Long Mountain's military preparation, Li Yuankun, only had mid-stage cold resistance cultivation, so there was no way he killed the Beast King level Thunder Kui. It must have been personally slain by the Lord, and Lord Military Preparation brought it back. No wonder I heard from the people in the outpost when we entered the camp that the storeroom of the Longshan Camp Supply Department is nearly full of beast meat, beast bone, and beast blood. They need to arrange transport to bring everything back to Xia City. In one night, over 4,000 cold beasts, which outpost could hold that? No wonder people in Xia City say that as long as you join the army, you'll never lack contribution value. The contribution points from this one night are worth 2 to 3 months of what we would have earned in a hunting team. More than that, since joining the army, things like Dan medicine, weapons, war armor, beast blood are allocated monthly, and they even give you contribution value. Soldiers in the army only need to hand over half of their prey to the camp, so how could they possibly lack contribution value? Recently, the Lord has been personally commanding the 6 armies here, so things are naturally different. I've always heard that hunting teams love to go out with the Lord. No wonder. I wonder if we'll get a chance to go out with the Lord. Surely, haven't you heard the commander say, bringing our 4 armies to Long Mountain is precisely to train the army with the Lord. That's right, we've joined the army now. We'll take it slow, and as long as we build our combat power, sooner or later we'll be like the 6 armies, with military contributions and contribution value, wanting for nothing. Oh yeah? The new soldiers crave stimulation, and the over 4,000 prey brought back before dawn by the 6 armies was undoubtedly the best motivation for them, making them realize the vast benefits of joining the army. It was an unexpected joy. Although the new army hadn't yet been deployed in battle, the excitement from the prey showed signs of initially boosting morale. As daylight grew, the soldiers returned to their quarters to rest, and the previously bustling Longshan camp quickly became quiet. Of course, this wasn't unique to Longshan camp. The entire outpost was similar. There were already quite a few with cold resistance level in Long Mountain. Especially now, with all but Long Yuan of the great Xia 10 armies present, people were abundant during the day. Yet due to the Ice Abyss people's habit over many years, many still maintained their original nocturnal schedule, even after reaching the cold resistance level. The military followed suit, with strict schedules that soldiers had to adhere to, allowing no violations. Throughout the camp, aside from occasional patrols by cold resistance level, only the 5 cold resistance level guards remained at the east gate. With the great Xia 10 armies all in the Longshan camp, what's the point of guarding? Who would have the guts to storm in? Heh, I'd actually love it if some fool tried. Stop chatting nonsense. With the Lord and Lady present, if something goes wrong, we'll be the ones to lose face in front of the defender, and it won't end well for us. Just 2 more hours, it'll be over soon. There are over 5,000 with cold resistance level in Great Xia now. While that's a lot, it doesn't mean they'd be reduced to guarding the gates. Chapter 986. Chapter 359. 4 Silver Mines Troop Rotation. Urgent news from Su Ning, the 3rd Grade 7 title. Under normal circumstances, Long Mountain's outpost would only station 1 cold resistance level guard at the city gate during the day. But recently both the Lord and the Lord Lady are in Long Mountain, so Yue Feng has tightened security, dispatching 5 people every day. Given Xia Hong's strength, Yue Feng naturally knows his safety is not something he needs to worry about. Sending 5 cold resistance level guards to watch the city gate is merely to ensure nothing goes wrong. Otherwise, it would be his face as the Longshan Guardian at stake. The 5 people are all subordinates of Yue Feng and naturally understand his intention. After the leading person reminded them, the other 4 immediately had more serious expressions and focused on watching the situation outside the city gate, not letting any detail go unnoticed. Who? Someone's coming. Who? Suddenly, a sound of the wind rose from the east side. The 5 instantly became alert, seeing a figure boldly rushing over from afar. Their expressions relaxed slightly. As the person got closer, the 5 were suddenly shocked, immediately bowing and saluting, paying respects to Director Qiu. The newcomer was none other than the camp's supply department director, Qiu Peng. Qiu Peng oversees the camp's supply department and rarely leaves Xia City. His hurried arrival at Long Mountain clearly indicated something significant had occurred. The leading person quickly took out solidified fire oil and handed it over. Is the Lord at the outpost? Qiu Peng understood the rules well. After receiving the solidified fire oil, he asked urgently. The Lord just returned before dawn and is resting in the Longshan Palace. Hearing their words, Qiu Peng said nothing more and directly rushed through the city gate, sprinting towards the Longshan Palace. Is it something serious? What major event could happen in Xia City? It must be something from elsewhere. Director Qiu coming personally to deliver the news must mean it's no small matter. Watching Qiu Peng's back, the 5 people stood there looking at each other, recalling Qiu Peng's face full of urgency, their brows full of suspicion. Word. Shortly after Qiu Peng entered the headquarters, a beam of red light suddenly flew towards the east from the sky. The 5 at the city gate abruptly raised their heads, and seeing the red light speeding east, their expressions sharpened. It is. The Lord has left. Qiu Peng's arrival made him leave immediately. There must be something big in Xia City. As their voices fell, 3 figures rushed out from the headquarters. The 3 figures were 1 in front and 2 behind. Leading was Lady Li Xuanling, followed by the recently entered Qiu Peng and Longshan Guardian Yue Feng. Yue Feng, inform Yuan Dao to set off with the army back to Xia City tonight at nightfall. The remaining silver mines are temporarily irrelevant. Xuanwu and Divine Marshal, along with your newly established 4 armies, keep an eye on the 4 silver mines. If any situation arises that you can't handle, send someone to Xia City to report. Understood, milady. Even as Li Xuanling spoke, her pace didn't stop, and she led Qiu Peng towards the east, clearly heading back to Xia City. Yue Feng stopped at the city gate, watching the 2 leave, and raised his head, looking at the red light already far to the east, a hint of worry in his eyes. As soon as Qiu Peng arrived near the main building, Yue Feng immediately noticed. Seeing Qiu Peng urgently searching for the Lord was curious and inquired, but Qiu Peng seemed too rushed and only mentioned something had happened to Su Ning before rushing into Longshan Palace. Then Xia Hong, without a word, flew out of the palace towards Xia City. How could something happen to Su Ning when the Lord told him to slowly scout ahead in Huayuan, avoiding early contact with the 9 towns? Great Xia Inner City, residence number 15. Dad, please don't scare Zion. What's wrong with you? Dad, do you not recognize Xiaping? In the living hall, 5-year-old Su En and 3-year-old Su Ping were nervously clutching their father Su Ning's pant leg, their eyes full of tension and unease. Su Ning sat in the main seat, expression vacant. Hearing his son's calls, he just lowered his head, his left eye's pupil dilated, devoid of any sparkle. He looked at his sons without the usual affection, only detachment and confusion, as if he couldn't recognize his own children. Boo-hoo, my dear, say something. What's happening to you? I told you not to go to King Village, but you insisted, and now with this outcome, what will the 4 of us do? Boo-hoo. Hong Kaioru held her youngest daughter Su Ying, crying helplessly on the side. Seeing she couldn't wake her husband, her tears flowed more fiercely. Xia Chuan stood nearby, watching Hong Kaioro's grief, his expression solemn too. He said in a deep voice, "Sister-in-law Su, don't worry, as long as he's alive, everything can be discussed. We just haven't found out why Su Ning became like this yet, but once we do, we'll cure him at any cost." Given Xia Chuan's status, these words naturally reassured Hong Kaioro considerably. Her sobs weakened, and she sniffled a few times, saying, "Minister, I'm just a woman and don't know much about camp matters, but 8 days ago when evacuating from Lower River Village, I could see Su Ning risk himself for the great Xia, personally going to King Village to gather news. If there's any way, even for the sake of my 3 young children, please, Minister, help him. I beg you." Hong Kaioro, as a woman, naturally had some small schemes. Her words seemingly aimed to earn credit for her husband, fearing that once her husband became like this, Xia Chuan and other great Xia leaders would abandon him. Chapter 987, Chapter 359, 4 Silver Mines Army Rotation, Urgent Message from Su Ning, 3rd 7th Rank Title. Sister-in-law Yu. This small intention was apparent even to Suen. He worried that sister-in-law's scheming might anger Xia Chuan and immediately wanted to reprimand her. But before he could speak, Xia Chuan reached out to stop him. Xia Chuan walked up to Hong Kaioro, his demeanor serious as he said, "Sister-in-law Su, don't worry, I will definitely heal him." It was clear that Xia Chuan also intended to promise something, but just as he started to speak, a familiar voice came from outside the door. The 3 adults inside the hall visibly perked up, and Hong Kaioro quickly stood up from her chair, turned toward the direction of the hall entrance, and bowed deeply. "Greetings, Lord." The newcomer was naturally Xia Hong, whose breathing was still slightly hurried, clearly having rushed back all the way from Long Mountain. "No need for formalities." Xia Hong gestured for the 3 to stand up, saying nothing as he slowly walked up to Su Ning, looking at his scattered pupils and the completely unfamiliar gaze directed at himself. His expression subtly shifted, then he placed his hand on Su Ning's shoulder. After closing his eyes to sense for a moment, his expression immediately turned even more grave. Just as Qiu Peng had mentioned earlier, not only externally but internally as well, there were no injuries at all. His skin membrane, flesh and blood, and cultivation were all intact, yet his pupils were scattered, his consciousness muddled, unable to speak, and seemingly unable to recognize anyone. "Lord, this is the intelligence Su Ning brought back from King Village." At this moment, Xia Chuan handed over a piece of blood-stained fabric. Xia Hong took the blood fabric, and upon seeing the words of the 5 lines on it, his expression subtly shifted. Daju Temple, 5 Great Masters. Zen Temple with over 5,000 gray-clothed bhikkhus with hair, 3 main strength. 800 white-robed formal bhikkhus, above 20 main strength. 9 towns have already made a move in King Village. Jiangxia Town Army Chief. Zai Zhang was defeated by the Vajra Master. Chilong Lake Great Awakening Hall, emerald green pupils, instant death upon eye contact. The handwriting roughly suggests that Su Ning should have hastily written these down before his consciousness was completely muddled. Because of limited time, he could only use this brief format. Yet even so, these 5 pieces of information reveal a lot, Lord. "I can tell, wait." Xia Hong waved to interrupt Xia Chuan's words, lowering his gaze to the blood-drenched words on the torn fabric, fixating his eyes solemnly on the 5th line. Chilong Lake Great Awakening Hall, emerald green pupils, instant death upon eye contact. The first 4 pieces of information are essentially evidential, requiring observation to be known. Yet this last piece of information, if one merely sees someone die, could hardly lead to such a conclusion. The only possibility is that Su Ning had face-to-face contact with the source as he mentioned about the emerald green pupils. The crux of the matter is most likely related to the emerald green pupils that Su Ning described. I need to go to King Village and find out exactly what's going on. "Lord, absolutely not." "Lord, you must not." Upon hearing Xia Hong's words, Xia Chuan and Suen nearly simultaneously stood up to dissuade him. Xia Chuan continued in a deep voice. "More than 5,000 3-mained cold resistance level, over 800 with strength above 20 main cold resistance level. Merely this level of strength is considerable." Su Ning singled out Jiangxia Town Army Chief Zai Zhang as a separate piece of information, which can basically confirm he has attained the Xianyang level cultivation. Even he was defeated by that Vajra Master, and Daju Temple has 5 such masters. Why did only one Xianyang level strongman, Jiangxia Town Army Chief Xia Hong appear while the 9 towns were already taking action in King Village. I estimate the remaining 8 towns, Xianyang-level strongmen are likely reluctant to risk themselves, Jiangxia Town being closest to Daju Temple. Naturally, they are most eager to probe the strength of Daju Temple, forced to send one Xianyang level. Moreover, it appears a significant loss was suffered. Merely from the intelligence Su Ning brought back, it's enough to conclude that Daju Temple's strength is unfathomably deep, along with a connection with deceitful monster. With the enemy situation unclear, the Lord must not put himself in danger. Suan firmly nodded, glanced at his brother Su Ning, and continued speaking. Brother risked his life to gather this intelligence, in hopes that when Great Xia faces Daju Temple later, it would suffer less. If the Lord ventured to risk himself, wouldn't all the intelligence he gathered be rendered meaningless? Were brother conscious now, he would certainly not agree to the Lord personally risking himself. Hearing their words, Xia Hong's face suddenly tensed. These 5 pieces of intelligence were clearly already analyzed one by Xia Chuan. He likely deduced no less than himself. It's indeed not wise to proceed rashly. Especially the 4th piece of information, 9 towns have already made their move in King Village. This sentence contains so much, until thoroughly clarified, if he ventured to Daju Temple, exposing himself would be nothing, but allowing Great Xia to be fully exposed to the 9 towns, then these past 4 or 5 years, arrangements would be utterly in vain. Qiu Peng mentioned to me that Su Ning left 2 scouts in Lower River Village. Shouldn't they be able to obtain some information on King Village? Have they reported anything recently? Suan knew this matter well, immediately nodding. There are indeed 2 scouts, named by Shankyu and Xiang Liang, one cold resistance level with 2 main strength, and one earth-digging realm limit cultivation, both voluntarily requested to remain in Lower River Village. According to Brother's earlier 6-month practice of lurking in Lower River Village, unless under special circumstances, typically a report is sent back at the end of each month. Today is only the 25th, so it will be 5 days before they communicate back. Xia Hong's brows slightly furrowed, a cold resistance level 2 mained, and an earth-digging realm limit cultivation. What useful information could they possibly gather? Brother, Su Ning's 5 pieces of intelligence are all highly valuable. Now all that's required is confirmation and validation from those 2 scouts. If indeed, as we hope, then Daju Temple would very likely clash with the 9 towns. At this juncture, for any reason, we can't come forward in their territory. Xia Chuan was evidently still somewhat worried about Xia Hong going to Daju Temple personally for Su Ning. Therefore, he expressed his deterrence between the words. Xia Hong's brows slightly tightened, his gaze lingering on the 4th line of the blood-stained cyan letters, more precisely on the phrase, 9 towns have already made a move in King Village. These 10 words. Surely he understood Xia Chuan's concern. But Su Ning. Xia Hong turned his head to gaze at Su Ning in the chair, his expression subtly stern, contemplating for a long time before finally sighing, and solemnly telling Xia Chuan, register 1,000 military merits for Su Ning. Henceforth, their family's clothing, food, and living arrangements, including cultivation resources, will be supplied by the camp until he is cured. Hearing this, Xia Chuan's face subtly tensed, then immediately nodded. Suan and Hong Kaior's expressions visibly jolted upon hearing this, soon echoed by bowing deeply to Xia Hong, full of emotion on their faces. Su and thanking the Lord on behalf of brother. The wife thanking the Lord on behalf of husband. Su Ning had already attained the 8th grade Red Cloud Marquis. His accumulated military merits already exceeded 1,000, and granting 1,000 more would promote him directly to 7th grade Kingaming Marquis. Mind you, currently within the whole Great Xia, only Xia Chuan and Yuan Dao held the rank of 7th grade Marquis. Suddenly, Su Ning elevated to this status. Key was Xia Hong's following words. Henceforth their family's clothing and living arrangements, including cultivation resources, would be ensured by the camp, until Su Ning was cured. This was nearly a verbal assurance, personally promising to find a remedy for Su Ning, thereby instantly giving Hong Kaioro and Su an immeasurable relief. In the future, take care of Su Ning at home. I will surely save him, rest assured. Xia Chuan Suan, come with me to the political hall. After speaking to Hong Kaioro, Xia Hong called Xia Chuan and Suan to follow him outside the hall. The 2, hearing the sound, immediately followed. Leaving Hong Kaioro alone at home, looking at her mentally absent husband, She still felt somewhat distressed, but compared to just now, things were far better. Darling, the Lord will certainly heal you, he sure will. Chapter 988, Chapter 360, Xiang Liang and Wang Yuxiu, Buddha's Decree, Message Delivery and Strategy Setting. Mo Calendar Year 131, October 3rd night. Near the main building of Lower River Village, a wooden house. Brother Xiang opened the door quickly. A girl around 17 or 18, dressed in a blue robe, holding a basin of steaming meat soup, eagerly knocked on the wooden door and shouted inside. Kriyug. The wooden door slowly opened from inside, revealing a determined young face. He was a young man slightly over 20, his mood visibly not well. Though his face was clouded with gloom as he opened the door, it softened somewhat upon seeing the girl and the steaming meat soup she held, revealing an expression of tenderness and helplessness. Yuxiu, did I ask you not to bring anything? Your father is already uneasy about me, and you come here every day. If he finds out, he'll scold you again. Wang Yuxiu obviously didn't heed Xiang Liang's words, as she skillfully entered the room, headed straight for the hall, put down the beast meat she carried, glanced around briefly, noticed no one was there, and then turned to the young man to ask, "Did your grandfather go out again today?" Xiang Liang's expression immediately darkened upon hearing this, and he nodded slightly. Wang Yuxiu's face showed sympathy at his response, but after a moment of thought she stepped forward and softly said, "Brother Xiang, your brothers have been missing for over half a month. This isn't the first time such things have happened in the village. If they were really okay, they would have returned earlier. Being away for this long with no news means they surely are." At this point, she noticed Xiang Liang's expression growing even darker, realized she shouldn't continue, and immediately stopped. She shifted to gently consoling him. "Brother Xiang, please persuade your grandfather not to go searching anymore. The snow forest is unsafe at night. If he doesn't find your brother and risks himself, then, in the end, it would just be you and your grandfather left to live peacefully in Lower River Village, wouldn't it?" Xiang Liang remained silent for a long time, not answering her question. Wang Yuxiu seemed to grasp something, showing a hint of anger. "My dad wanted you to enter the main building yesterday, yet you say he's not assured about you. If you truly decide to integrate into Lower River Village, given your talent, my dad and Uncle Liu and Uncle Zheng and the others would certainly welcome you. Moreover, my dad has said your cultivation talent is not just high, your hunting skills surpass others. If you eventually break through to the cold resistance level, he might even let you lead the village's hunting team." Hearing Wang Yuxiu's words, Xiang Liang's expression showed some hesitance, but after a moment's hesitation, he still bitterly smiled and shook his head. "I've only been in Lower River Village for over 9 months, and it's reasonable for your father to be cautious about me. Yuxiu, my elder brothers have been missing for so long, and my grandfather is searching outside every day. I can't stay in the village. We've already planned that if we can't find them in a few days, I'll pack up and leave with my grandfather." "Brother Xiang, you can't leave." Upon hearing Xiang Liang's words, Wang Yuxiu's eyes immediately fogged with tears, interrupting him directly. The reason she had been coming here every day for the past half-month was her fear that grandfather and grandson would leave Lower River Village together in search of them. Now her greatest worry came true. Wang Yuxiu couldn't suppress her love any longer. Her cheeks flushed red and she bravely approached and hugged him tightly, resting her head against his chest, her voice unwaveringly determined. "Brother Xiang, no matter what, I won't let you leave Lower River Village." Xiang Liang's expression slightly froze, his eyes showing a complex look. A 17 or 18-year-old girl, often possessing a strong sense of shame, had the courage to take such the initiative to embrace him. He understood how much courage it took. He took a gentle breath, thought for a moment, and then slightly raised his arms, gently embracing Wang Yuxiu, softly saying, "Yuxiu, I understand your feelings, but gaining your father's approval is indeed hard. Yesterday, your dad called me to the main building for questioning. His approach was still very indirect, and when I saw a bhikkhu with hair from the Daju temple arrive, he immediately dismissed me, clearly showing his lack of trust. If I continue staying here, that's my third brother." Xiang Liang's expression froze as he was abruptly interrupted. Wang Yuxiu seemed to have come to a crucial decision and persisted. "Brother Xiang, I came to see you today with the intention of discussing this matter. The bhikkhu with hair who came yesterday is my third brother, Wang Yuan. Both he and my second brother, Wang Yuan, were among the first batch of children selected by Daju Temple 7 years ago. He came yesterday to deliver Buddha's decree to my father." A sharp glint flickered deep in Xiang Liang's eyes, quickly replaced by confusion as he asked Wang Yuxiu, "What's Buddha's decree?" Buddha's decree is the mandate collectively delivered by Daju Temple to King Hipu's 3 villages and 18 families. Once the decree is issued, all camps must comply. Wang Yuxiu seemed intending to continue, and Xiang Liang did not interrupt. "I've heard that 5 days ago, something happened in King Village. Spies from the 9 towns led by Jiangxia set fires in the village at dawn, causing numerous deaths and injuries. Several bhikkhus with hair from the Zen temple were killed, angering the master who ordered all camps in the 3 villages and 18 families to send half of their earth-digging realm and cold resistance level forces to King Village, possibly planning to retaliate against Jiangxia town." 9 towns. Having stayed in Lower River Village with Su Ning for over half a year, Xiang Liang certainly knew about the 9 towns, yet still feigned ignorance in front of Wang Yuxiu, looking at her curiously. Chapter 989, Chapter 60, Xiang Liang and Wang Yuxiu, Buddha's Decree, Dispatches and Decision-Making, Part 2. Wang Yuxiu hurriedly explained the 9 towns to him, then remembered something and continued to ask, "Haven't you always thought my father doesn't trust you? The reason lies with these 9 towns, especially Jiangxia town, which is closest to our King Village. They sent many spies to infiltrate King Hipu, so my father is very cautious with strangers. Over the years, we've caught quite a few of them, but who would have thought they still have so many people lurking in King Village? With such a big commotion this time, finally the master has to step in and punish them." "I see." Xiang Liang displayed a look of understanding, nodding as he asked, "You said you came to see me today to talk about this matter. Why?" Wang Yuxiu bit her lip and said, "Brother Xiang, haven't you always felt that my father doesn't trust you? Taking advantage of this opportunity with Daju Temple's Buddha's decree, if you actively request to enlist and accept the summon from my father, he will certainly be very pleased. Later, when fighting for Daju Temple, if you can achieve any merits, he will definitely see you as a part of the family, and by then, the 2 of us." As she spoke to the last part, Wang Yuxiu's face was full of shyness, the implication clear. Seeing the hesitation on Xiang Liang's face, Wang Yuxiu thought he was afraid of going to the battlefield, and quickly continued, "Don't worry, Brother Xiang, my 3rd brother Wang Yuan is now the Zen Temple steward. I'll inform him, and once you're on the battlefield he'll take care of you. There won't be any danger." "That's not what I'm afraid of." Xiang Liang shook his head immediately, holding Wang Yuxiu's hand a bit tighter as he said, "If I go directly to seek your father's approval, he will surely guess that you're the one who told me about this, and you'll end up getting scolded." Seeing that Xiang Liang was not afraid but worried about her, Wang Yuxiu's face immediately showed a sweet smile, nodding and saying softly, "You don't have to go to him right now. In the next few days, he should meet with all the hunting teams in the village. When it's your turn, just show some enthusiasm. He will definitely notice." "Yuxiu, thank you. For the future of both of us, I will work hard to integrate into Lower River Village." Hearing this, Wang Yuxiu's face flushed deeper, and her eyes were filled with sweetness as she looked at Xiang Liang. The 2 young people chatted softly inside the house for a while longer until dawn approached. Reluctantly, Wang Yuxiu left, turning back frequently. Watching Wang Yuxiu leave, Xiang Liang returned inside and gazed at the bowl of still warm meat soup on the table, his expression turning unusually complex. Bai Shenkyu walked out from inside, seeing Xiang Liang's expression. He smiled gently and asked, "Are you feeling guilty for deceiving her like this?" Xiang Liang said nothing, but his expression gave the answer. "Do you like this, Wang Yuxiu?" Hearing Bai Shenkyu's question, Xiang Liang looked taken aback, then replied in a low voice, "Lower River Village belongs to Daju Temple. She is from Lower River Village and should be considered an enemy of our great Xia. How could I like an enemy?" "Foolish." Bai Shenkyu, being older and experienced in matters of love, couldn't be deceived by Xiang Liang's flimsy excuse. He shook his head and chuckled, then continued, "The 3 villages and 18 families of King Hipu are at most bewitched by a deceitful monster. They aren't bad people, so how could they be considered enemies of our great Xia? We are gathering intelligence on Daju Temple here for the sake of great Xia, to rescue the 3 villages and 18 families from Daju Temple's grasp. Your deception of her is essentially to save her and all the people of King Hipu, so you shouldn't feel guilty. Once great Xia exposes Daju Temple's true nature, she will naturally understand your actions. Liking her is not a crime. You are taking a great risk by volunteering and staying in Lower River Village. Even Lord Su knows about this. Should the day come when you both end up together, he will surely stand by you. Bai Shankyu's words clearly had a significant impact on Xiang Liang. He stood there pondering for a long time, as his eyes gradually cleared from the complexity and hesitation, and his expression became more lucid. He then looked at Bai Shankyu with gratitude and cupped his hands, saying, "Thank you for the guidance, old Bai. I almost got caught up in the illusion." Seeing that Xiang Liang understood, Bai Shankyu also showed a satisfied expression. Although they were not related by blood and hadn't interacted much in Huayuan in the past, he genuinely admired this daring and meticulous young man from the bottom of his heart. "Since you figured it out, good. Now, record all the information Wang Yuxiu just shared. Daju Temple's Buddha's decree, Wang Yuan, 9 towns setting fires in King Village which angered Daju Temple. All these are key intelligence. Especially the fact that Daju Temple is gathering forces to act against 9 towns. This must be reported back to Xia City quickly. We can't wait for the end of the month. I'll find an opportunity to slip out after it gets light." Xiang Liang nodded heavily, assisting Bai Shankyu in organizing the intelligence. They had been undercover in Lower River Village for over half a year, having set up a way to communicate back to Beiyang ahead of time. If there were no significant developments, they'd send a status report to Xia City at the end of each month. In the event of important developments, they'd send a report early by placing the letters in the crevice of a marked tree 15 kilometers west of Lower River Village. Beiyang Garrison Commander Chen Ying would send someone to check by that tree each day during daylight, ensuring timely communication between the parties.